Hey, good morning, everybody. Hey, Facty. Hey, Carl. What's going on, guys? I've been watching the tungsten wire now for several days as it's just slowly drifting away. Something we completely and totally expected because that's what these things do. They've got the wires have stresses built into them just in the drawing and forming process. But not just that, just winding it up on a spool will do that. So it takes some time for the thing to settle down. But over this period of time, what we've seen is exactly what we expect. You see the rhythmic oscillation of the pendulum. It has a 949 second period, which you could literally almost set your clock by. So it's easy to tell the difference between just some random crazy movement and the oscillation. Stop for a second. Hello, Dora. Alien believers, good morning. And Dump G's, what's happening? So, all we see is a steady drift of the resting point. In other words, the approximate midpoint between those oscillations. And actually, the reason the balance doesn't sit still when you're in this phase of having the wire relax, that shift, that drifting of the wire itself is what's providing the energy to keep the oscillations going. After a while, and I don't know how long that is, I don't know any way to predict it, but we've seen that, after a time period, we'll get the thing where it will be able to just sit still for hours. We've seen it before. But it really doesn't have to, and Cavendish never did yet. Never tried to have his sit completely still. You can read his paper. And I'm going to do some videos on this. He always measured and calculated what the resting position would be from the oscillations. If you insist that you've got to wait until the damn thing becomes completely stable, it could take 2 or 3 days for that to happen. And over that period of time, you don't know how much the thing drifted to begin with. So the better thing to do is what Cavendish says, and that is as quickly after you move the weights, make the measurements. As quickly as you can after you move the weights, make the measurements. If that makes sense. Truth Nerds, good afternoon. Generally Shady, what's going on, man? But I thought we'd have a little fun today, since I'm not doing anything else other than just watching this thing oscillate. Let me move a marker over here. I'll try to get the top and bottom of the oscillation period defined. So that we'll know what we're looking at. I don't know if any of you have kept up with the back and forth that's been going on. Anthony Riley is scared to death at the moment. He has no idea how he's going to go about discrediting this. So he's just trying any and everything he can. He makes a charge which is completely false, that Cavendish somehow or the other said humans can't be anywhere near this thing, that was going to have an effect. You do and I think most people realize that Cavendish was just standing on the other side of a brick wall when he was making his observations. No different than me sitting here right now, and I'm about 4 feet away, almost 5 feet away from the thing, right off the end of it, where my mass is not trying to cause the balance to rotate. And that wall, unless there was something magic about those bricks he made that shed out of, that building out of, that damn wall doesn't block gravity. It didn't block the gravity of Cavendish's body. So, as usual, Anthony has it completely wrong. But then I thought, there's a way to show that me being here doesn't really matter. So I think what we'll do, we'll look at how this thing is oscillating back and forth. Try to get the top and the bottom of it fairly well defined. And then I'm going to, on camera, walk around there into the position that I'm always in when I pull the ropes and make the balls move. Only this time, I'm not going to pull the rope. I'm just going to stand there for the approximate length of time that it normally takes me to reposition the balls. And then I'm going to leave, and I'm going to back off with the camera and just let this thing run for a while. And let's see what happens. Riley's accused me of cheating and all other forms of nefarious conduct. I've about had enough of the guy. Hello, Clive Wells. Good morning. Jason Henderson, yeah, when I say let it run, I simply mean just leave it alone. Nothing's actually running, obviously. Well, yes, something's running. The air conditioner's running. Yeah, effective. That's about right. Dora says my patience is more than hers, I think. Well, I'll tell you this, Dora. I don't mind him being a dummy. He's not a stupid man. He's a smart guy. He just doesn't know a damn thing about math or science. That's all. That's his problem. Okay, so be it. That's a trait shared by billions of people on this planet. A lot of people don't know anything about math or science. My problem is I do not tolerate being called a liar or a cheat. And that's what Riley has done over and over again. Well, I'll tell you what, I think we'll show who the liar is pretty quickly. I got a video that I'm working on, and I think you guys are really going to enjoy it. Sudico, is it? Welcome. Recognize you being in here before. Make you blue like pretty much everybody else. I don't know what your point is exactly, Jason Henderson. The oscillations generally don't stop. That's true. We only stop watching them because we've got the data that we already need. Watch it as long as you like. And Earth is seriously flat. I see you in the chat. You're welcome to be here. We're not debating whether the Earth is round or the Earth is spinning. This is strictly to do with the measurement of the gravitational constant, so I would appreciate it if you would confine your remarks to that topic. For those of you that weren't watching the other night, the white circle and the yellow circle are where the wire centered when we first put it in. So we had a center point of about 212 millimeters thereabouts. And now after 2.5 days or more, that center point has just drifted. This drift expected in any wire. It's just drifted down to about 179 or so. Nothing abnormal about that. It's the way they normally behave. It's just the wire relieving itself of internal stress that's in it from that. It comes that way from the manufacturing process. Hello, Colon. My balls are doing quite nicely today, thank you for asking. I'm not on Discord at the moment. Let's see if I can do that. Okay, let's see. There's a link to the Discord for anybody that doesn't have it. If you feel like joining, be my guest. Yeah, I get your point, Caroline. Hello, Terry Davies. Here's somebody joining. Ah, it's Terry. There. Can you hear me, Terry?
Yeah, I hear you. If I'm, oh, I'll have to mute. I'll have to mute the issue so I don't get confused. No, I didn't hear you in here.
Yeah, you ought to be hearing me in here now.
Oh, yeah. Well, come through loud and clear.
All right, I think I got it set correctly. Hold on a second. Let me check. Let me look on Discord. Say something else, Terry. Oh, Terry.
Hello.
Ah, good. Yeah, got it. Okay. Well, hold down the fort for. Hold down the fort for a second. I need to
join.
Huh?
Sorry.
I said hold down the.
Anyone else going to join?
I don't know.
Dora said, "Are you in for a talk with Blue?" We'll do this the other day, won't you, with the static test? When you first put that's the one video I was looking at the other day.
Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, now I got a set of headphones on so I can hear. No, I haven't done anything since the other day other than just let this thing sit and stabilize. That. Yeah. Right. That's just the wire drifting. That's what we expect it to do. When it's new, that's what happens. But hold on a second. I'll be back in just a minute. Okay. So I think we're back. or maybe I'm not. Hello, hello. Oh, there I am. So everything's still running? Yep. I don't know, guys. If you've watched this thing for a couple, how long have we been going now? 22 minutes. Hadn't been enough time for two complete oscillations. The oscillation period is 949 seconds. And that's just under 16 minutes. So I want to see that I've got my green and my purple circle up there identifying where the extremes of the oscillation happen to be right now. And I think they're pretty close. If anybody disagrees with that, say so in the chat. And we're joined by General Shady. Oh, I see. I cut my speakers off when I plugged these headphones in, so that's why I wasn't hearing you guys. Well, let me have another look. Give me some chatter again. Good morning. I don't know why. I don't know why Discord.
I was wondering if Blue's tempted to position the. I mean, you seem to have got two extremes there, Blue. I was wondering if you might be tempted to go over to it and try and put it in the midpoint.
I'm trying to figure out what's wrong with the audio here.
Okay, that won't trouble you.
Yeah. No, just asked. No one's hearing us.
Right.
Got Blue, but
that's
no one
okay.
else.
Rumpus can keep finishing his monologue, going until the audio gets sorted out.
Yeah, then there'd be demands to stop the audio.
Yeah.
He'll be worn out by then.
Yeah, okay, yeah. That must admit, if it's going on for this long, even I might start expiring before. There are people saying the rump or something in there, and only a weird sound. Jezza is saying. Wow. Yeah.
They should be hearing you now. Hearing you
guys
we
hear them.
now.
It says, Carl. Carl's saying we hear you. Yeah. Right.
All right, we got it sorted.
Don't ask Blue how, but he's fixed it.
It's very hissy. You're very hissy, Blue.
Well, there's nothing I'm going to be able to do about that. This is a crappy microphone, and I've got an air conditioner running over here. So
and you spent all this money on the apparatus.
Yeah, you've lashed out, haven't you?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you heard me, Blue. I was saying, are you at all tempted, given the fact you seem to have some provisional extremes of the oscillation, of saying I'm not going to watch it for 2 days and I'm going to try and put it in the middle between the two of these extremes and then see if it stops it?
Oh, it's not going to stop it. The wire is just relaxing. And
right, but if you put it in the midpoint, won't that stop it?
No.
Yeah, I think so.
No, it won't. I've just been watching how much it drifts over time. And the upper set of circles, the white one and the yellow one, is where it came to rest the first time. That's when the oscillations got down to minimum the first time. When I first put it in. And then over the past 2 days, it's just drifted down to the point you see now with the green and the purple circles.
Oh, I see. God.
It is, in fact, the relaxation of the wire and that drift that's being induced as the stress relieves in the wire itself that's providing the energy that keeps the oscillation going. So you're going to have that oscillation. But, that's not a problem because you make the measurements by measuring the extremes of the oscillation anyway. So it doesn't really make any difference.
Right, but it is annoying the fact that, so over time the actual extremes are changing as well, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay, sod that idea then.
Yeah, well, the whole thing, just imagine the oscillations back and forth between those little closely spaced circles. But the two little closely spaced circles are just moving to the left.
Yeah.
Over time. That's what's happening.
Right.
But today we're going to have a little fun.
Yes, I heard you were saying you're going to get out there and move it. Yes, I'm looking. I thought is that imminent, or do we have to wait? Is there a time to come back and see this high point?
Yeah, sure. I think so. What I'm going to do?
Sorry, it's imminent.
What I'm about to do, though, and I think we've watched it long enough to feel fairly good about where the circles are positioned. That looks
You've had
like
2 oscillations, haven't you?
Yeah, close to 2 oscillations. At 32, let's see, almost 2 oscillations.
Right.
Probably needs to go just a little bit longer.
So you're about to embark on a traverse of the system, are you?
What I'm going to do?
You're about to get out there and wander around.
Yep, I'm just going to go over there on the other side. You'll see me go over there. I'm going to stand there as if I'm moving the large balls. They're about the length of time that it normally takes me. I'll just do a simulation. And then I'll come back to this position I'm sitting in right now and maybe move the camera around so that you get a full view of this. Just to shut Riley up.
Yeah. Did he say, I don't know I haven't caught all of this exchange, but he said you'd threatened him with physical violence. Now, that's obviously understandable, but did you?
No, I did not. That's the funny part.
Oh, right.
I wasn't even talking to Riley. I was in a conversation with another guy, and I was just musing over the concept. I said, I wonder what would happen if I showed up in England and invited Riley into a boxing ring. That's all.
Right.
That's not threatening anybody, for God's
Right.
sakes. That's not
Exactly. So this is, I mean, we all know that you cannot take any information without thinking they've exaggerated it or completely lied about it. And of course, Riley, I mean, I've only think I accused about 3 people on the internet of ever lying, and he's one of them. And clearly this is an episode where I think in his own head, I think these people, because they're a bit stupid, they sort of exaggerate in their own head what has happened and then retell it exaggerated, like their own sort of internal Chinese whispers, until eventually they've made up something that hasn't happened at all. Or obviously they might be doing it intentionally, but whatever. They just make stuff up. And so this is why, as you've learned, you never, ever, ever, ever take anything they've ever said about anything, ever. You always have to check it, because you always find the truth is quite obvious, often antithetical to whatever it is they've offered, and certainly it's never close to what they've offered. It's just revolting people.
I'd be in to make that a double.
Is Riley still going on about his string theory, Blue?
String theory? I don't know about string theory.
Remember he was saying about using string?
Oh, you're confusing me.
I'd like to make that a double header, Blue. I'll take Oakley if you take the other guy.
I want Oakley.
Oh, Riley. I thought Riley was.
Well, that's okay. That's 2 of us on Oakley then.
But Riley, this is the funny part. Riley actually, he read the exact exchange that I was having with this other guy. He read what I said word for word. And I'm not making any threats. I'm just amusing myself with the thought of what might happen.
Yeah.
That's all. And Riley's reaction told me exactly what I wanted to know. Riley is a damn coward. Period.
Yeah.
He
3 to 3.
He is.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Blue. I mean, when someone calls you a liar, that's just totally, totally unacceptable, and you're absolutely right to feel just to be totally intolerable. And just if people start doing that to you, just don't interact with them. I mean, they can be wrong and stupid, but what they can't do. I mean, the trouble is they're so stupid. I don't think they could They're so stupid. They often think people are lying when they're making mistakes. This is why these sorts of stupid people get in little fights with one another, because they each think someone else has lied or done something when they just don't realise that someone said something stupid and they misinterpret it. But to Riley claiming you're a liar, I mean, that requires quite a willful bit of misinterpretation or stupidity, but he has done it. He's often he regularly accuses people of lying when they've just either made a simple mistake or he's misunderstood them.
What I find to be quite true, Rumpus, is something that my father told me many times over in my early life, and he said, I'll never forget the way he would say it. He'd say, son, be careful about what somebody's accusing you of, because that's very likely what they're doing to you. And
exactly. That's a really good point. This projection, this is a fantastically good point, Blue. Often people who accuse other people of liars do so because that's how they behave, and therefore they think other people behave as badly as they behave. They assume that everyone's behaving and thinking and doing just like they do, and it's projection. So your dad's absolutely right. And I've seen this because I've watched reality programs over the last 10 years or so, and you see this, that the people who are in fact, 99% of the people who accuse others of lying are inherent and compulsive liars. It's the people who don't accuse other people of lying, even if it's very apparent that the other people's lying, they don't use that accusation, they're the ones that aren't lying. It's the liar accusers that do the lying. So yes, I completely agree with you.
It's the first sign of someone in a relationship cheating on you, is when they start accusing you of cheating on them.
Yeah.
That's
also
true.
Yeah, and that's why I'm very reluctant to call someone a liar unless I have got absolute cast iron proof that someone... Because remember, what a liar is someone who intentionally is trying to deceive and knows they're doing it. And so that requires quite a lot of evidence. It's not just making a mistake, misremembering something. So there are quite often times you might think someone is lying, but unless you've got absolute proof, you don't fling around such accusations lightly. And so someone like Riley, for instance, you may be aware of this, he did a measurement on the Isle of Man when he claimed to be doing it from 35 feet. And then there was a camera shot, a photograph of him being with a 100-foot tape measure on the place he took the thing from, and it was showing 100 feet. And so we know for a fact that he lied. He knew that he wasn't at 35 feet and that he was at this 100-foot thing because we've actually got a camera shot of it. So there are things
Well-
like that where you have really rock solid evidence saying this is someone who knows that they're telling a lie, and then you're entitled to make that accusation. But unless you've got that sort of rock solid evidence, you just don't do it.
When he makes a mistake, I correct him. After he's been corrected, when he does it again, then he's a liar.
Well, it can
Makes it
sometimes.
quite hard.
I'm a bit more tolerant. I can think they can just not understand the way you've corrected them, and they just, or they don't remember. I mean, these people. I mean, I think Truss was commenting to someone else. This flat Earth reset. You can have a discussion with these people. You can convince them, and they sort of say, "Yeah, okay, I agree with you. You've actually made a good point there." And the next day, they seem to completely forgotten what happened, and then go ahead and repeat whatever it is they said before. And I think it's just because they're stupid. These people are just stupid, and so they do lots of stupid things you can interpret as being willful lying, but almost always they're just being stupid.
Well, they lose track of the fact that maybe my patience might be wearing a little thin with them after a couple of years of this, because all they've ever done, and this goes for Quantum Eraser, Nathan Oakley, Anthony Riley, every one of them, all they do is throw insults at me. All they do is call me names, and they wonder why I get a little aggravated from time to time.
Yeah, you are a particular target of theirs, aren't you, actually? I think Curie and Nathan and Anthony, all three of them, seem to have specialised in having a go at you. And given the fact that you're one of the least, you're actually quite, unless you've been provoked, you're actually one of the more moderate members of the Globe side. It's always the case, actually. The people who, I've seen this before in other communities with doing atheism and things, where the atheists were trying to be friendly and nice to some of these religious types, and they're the ones who get attacked far more than someone like me, who abuses them like crazy all the time. And they pick on the nice people. I think, what the hell is going on here? It's almost like they're just, I don't understand the logic, but it's definitely a human trait that the people who try and approach you nicely and generally treat you with respect, they're the ones who get all the earful. And the people who abuse them directly like me get away with it.
Take it as a form of weakness.
Yes, perhaps
I
something.
think they take it as a form of weakness.
I certainly prefer to treat people with respect and have decent conversations, but you can only poke the old dog so many times, and eventually that damn thing is going to bite you. And
exactly.
I
try and do the same. I mean, I might be accused of being abusive, but I try and initially, unless someone has proved otherwise, I'm going to say they're not a liar. They are telling the truth. They might be a bit stupid, but that's no reason to have a massive go at them. But once I pass the threshold, I mean, just like you're saying, you say, right, that's it. We've now established what sort of character you are, and then from now on, you're going to have to then do quite a lot of proving the other way that you've changed your spots. Otherwise, I'm going to treat you as a git.
Okay. We got the red dot sitting just about where the center of the oscillation is right now. So let's simulate this test and see what happens when I walk around
there. Blue. Right.
Well, lucky huge ass isn't there.
Yeah.
He could be on the in the next street.
Right. Okay, we could. Oh, I should be watching this. Sorry, that's where I should be watching.
Yeah, I've got it on YouTube.
Right, yeah, I should be watching it on YouTube. Right. So you're not actually streaming on Discord. Okay.
No.
Right. There he goes. So there's Blue. He's off. Is he saying it? Is he? We can't hear you, Blue, if you're talking, by the way. I don't know if you're intending to be.
No, he can't, because he took his headset.
Good, he's.
All right, okay.
There we go.
Oh, there you go, Blue.
Oh, there you're there.
That's more.
Oh, you're back, are you?
Yep. That's
all right. So okay. YouTube's obviously 30 seconds behind. Okay, yeah, we only got a brief. Yeah, on YouTube you're still there.
Emma. Oh.
And you're away.
Yep.
So that's you managed to do it all in that time, do you? Okay.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
Right.
It's been shown over and over again. Let me try.
Did somebody say that you just walking past it would affect it?
Oh, it's moved. It has moved.
Oh yeah, it's oscillating.
Right. Okay. Yes, I must. But did it move that? I didn't move. I haven't been watching it while I was talking to you. It didn't move. we need to go back and rewind this. I mean, that seems to have moved more quickly because it was in the centre was it not in the centre?
Yeah, but it was moving upscale, Rumpus. It was in the center, which is the max. It was in the center, and that's the point that it's moving the fastest, right there at the center, and it was moving upscale. So.
Okay, let me just check.
It's centered at 11:26, and.
Okay, I'm rewinding the YouTube feed.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. Yeah, that's what I do.
Oh right, yes, I think I missed it actually. Yes, it was already in. Okay. Oh right, it was already in the centre. Yeah, sorry. Okay, I think I was too busy monologuing to actually look at what was going on in the. Yes, it was all near the centre already, wasn't it? Okay, sorry. God, yeah, yes, I think I've been. Yes, and when I started talking, yes, it was far right, and then by the time I finished talking, it moved into the middle. I thought, yes, okay.
Hey, Rumpus, you know you can multitask by using your eyes to see something while you're talking.
Well, I can't. No, I have to devote my entire brain to speaking and thinking. This is what I find. I cannot do, for instance, in these hangouts that I have. I can't talk, draw, and think at the same time. It's one thing. I think there's another thing I'm doing. There are three things. I think three things I can do, but the fourth one, I can't. There's some of the fourth thing in that as well. I can't do all four of them at the same time. It's no good. One of them stops working. The listening, perhaps. Yeah, that's right. Perhaps it's the listening, talking, doing a diagram, and thinking. I can't do four of those. It's no good. It's just no good. One of those goes wrong. I either have to stop talking, or if I'm trying to keep on talking, which I usually do, then the drawing goes wrong, or the thinking goes wrong, or I don't hear what the hell's going on. So
You'd be a really bad drunk, Rumpus.
Shout out
You'd have your cigarette in one hand, a drink in the other, trying to drink from your cigarette and smoke your drink.
Yeah, I'd have problems with that, I think the thinking is troublesome. I think the thinking is the thing that really stops it.
Over Blue, will you guys?
Yeah, go. Yeah, come on, Blue.
Yeah, let me read a super chat. JSS Tiger for $5. Thank you. He says $5 to annoy flat earthers. Oh, I'll do that for free any day. Believe me.
Well, it's nice to be paid for what you like to do, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay, so yeah. And it's and of course we all appreciate it as well. It's not just annoying the flat earthers. Obviously, we appreciate this fantastic piece of kit.
Who was that derper on the video you did the other day, Blue, with that crazy drop?
Right the hand.
Oh, right the hand.
Oh God.
That was, I don't know what to say about that.
This is a guy who denies atoms. Remember, and this is. I mean, there is. I mean, I think was it Flat Earth Data denies acceleration or something, and that he's apparently just written a book or something. He's going to publish a book on the internet about the movement of the sun and God knows what, and the equation of time, which we just went over, and how things buoyancy and things like that, and God knows what else he's going to go into. And he doesn't understand any of them. He doesn't understand any of the maths. He doesn't understand the perspective. I think Blue actually was the first one to identify and pull apart his attempt to use diffraction to working out the distance to the horizon. He somehow matched into this 1.22 thing in the Rayleigh criterion, and then equated that to the 1.22 you use to determine the distance to the horizon for a 6-foot observer. And I think Blue was one of the first people to spot that, because I heard that and I thought, what the hell's going on? What's Blue talking about? And it turns out Blue was absolutely right. He ended up using this diffraction equation to work out the distance to the horizon. I'm determined to get him on one-on-one on a hangout somewhere to go through how he does this in the maths. But I've never been in a position where I could get him in a corner and say, right, let's go through this really slowly. How you're claiming this amazing formula, which apparently he's going to include in his book. So yeah.
Oh, I hope so.
Oh, have a look at chat, Blue.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
Poor Billy Blue can't control his variables. What a fraudulent test.
Who's saying that? Is this flat Earth really flat Earth? What is Earth is seriously flat?
Oh, I don't even know who that is.
No.
Well, Earth is seriously flat is an absolute nutter. I think he's the same guy who used to turn up on Jose's and Ranty's, I think, and he would go around accosting people. He was the guy who accosted some guy fixing a 5G station. And he actually locked the guy I think that's the one.
Oh,
And he
that's
actually
him.
locked the guy's. He took the key out of the thing that raises it up and down. The what's it called? Something lift. And he actually took the key out. So this poor guy who was fixing this thing was stuck at the top. And then the police came along. I mean, this is a complete and utter nutter of the first order. And he go ahead.
That's when you accidentally drop your tool bag over the side.
What?
To P1 in the chat, my name is not Bill, William, or Billy. I want you to drop that, if you don't mind.
Oh, right. I've seen it now. Okay, it's P and one punch. All right. Okay.
You're perfectly welcome to call me Blue or BMS or whatever you like, but my name is not Bill, Billy, or William. Knock that shit off immediately.
I think this is a fantastic example of you controlling your variables. I think it's the most controlled variable ever.
Yeah. But they have to deny.
Oh, and I mean, Blue. Anthony still hasn't understood the criticism. You did a video on him, didn't you, about 3 or 4 days ago, and his test that they actually approached me about the problems with it, and I couldn't believe it that him, and this is Dr. John D, of course, the idiot who claims to have a PhD in spectroscopy, which I just cannot believe given the amount of stupidity that comes out that guy's mouth. But then they designed this bloody torsion balance without a torsion balance. The Cavendish experiment without a torsion balance. I mean, Jesus Christ, there's a rather major omission here. And then you did a video on it, didn't you, a few days ago? And presumably he still doesn't understand that even though your video pointed out and actually pointed at the thing that was the problem and said, fix this, presumably he hasn't accepted that point. Is that right?
I think at this point, Rumpus, it looks to me like they may have actually fixed it. But you can't, you cannot tell, okay? And the reason you can't tell is they won't show you the whole thing. All he's shown so far is just the balance in a pot or whatever he's using
you can't
down
see
there.
anything. Yeah, you can't
And
see details,
you can't see the top. You can't see how it's attached. And he's given no information whatsoever about what the wire is, what the material is, what the diameter of it is. We don't know what the masses are. He hasn't told us any dimensions about anything. So you can't even look at that and try to determine whether or not it should work. It's impossible.
Because when they proposed it,
and the other funny thing I find is that when he makes his time lapse, pay attention to his time lapses. He takes a picture every 15 minutes. Jesus Christ! I do a time lapse. I do a still shot every 15 seconds, not every 15 minutes. God damn! In 15 minutes, I could play 2 holes of golf. Holy shit! What? That doesn't show anything.
Slappy's apparatus has probably got a piece of 2x4 as the torsion wire and 2 eggs hanging on the end of it.
Well,
it didn't even have a torsion bar before.
Right. You literally could not until he shows what it is and says what it is. For all I know, he's got a coat hanger in there for a torsion wire. I don't know. But now,
did you see his?
Now suddenly his is sitting still too. So.
Right. Did you see the proposal when he and Dr. John G proposed this thing about a year and a half ago? They did a video on it, and they described what they were going to do, and then they mentioned they were just going to have this thing floating on a pin.
Yeah, that was on Randy's channel.
I've just wiped out a seriously flat comment and one from Punch Drunk, because they were just, one mentioned COVID and the other one's still calling you Billy, so bye-bye.
Who said COVID?
I haven't. I've just deleted the messages. But don't be bringing COVID. And don't call
which one
Billy.
did it? Which one did it?
Well, the two of them did it.
Earth is Flat did the COVID thing, and the other one's calling you.
Punch
Drunk
did
Punch
Billy
one is
again.
the one that keeps on calling you Blue, isn't it? I mean, Billy.
All right.
Call him Big, call him Blue, but don't call him Billy.
Yeah, I mean, call him by his name. I mean, if you want to come in and just be abusive, rude comments, sod off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I did tell you what Earth is Seriously Flat was like. That's obviously is the same nutter. And I suspect if he had the option, he'd probably lock you in your room or something and then run away and leave you there. And that's how nutty that guy is. All right, Punch is now asking you to not stop ignoring the question. I don't know what question he thinks he's asking you. I don't think Blue's...
Pay attention to your ignored variables.
But
so whatever variables that he thinks that there is, Blue's ignoring them.
Well, try listing the variables you think are being ignored, Punch, and I'm sure Blue would be more than happy to detail how he's managed to eliminate confounding variables.
Well, we already looked at everything, putting a bit of toilet paper in there to see if there's any draft.
Oh, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, that was the thing.
With the earthing wire, the Faraday type cage.
Yes, that's the good thing.
The end of the torsion.
Yes, I mean, it's all...
How long has it been since I simulated the movement?
Maybe read the Cavendish experiment now, he says.
Sorry, Blue, you asking when you went in there?
Yeah, when did I go around there and simulate the movement of that thing?
I did read out the time, and now I've forgotten what it was.
Damn it!
Balance is never okay, but I find that my two heavy fists keep getting.
You did it 11 minutes. You did it 12 minutes ago, Blue.
12 minutes ago.
About
12 minutes ago.
Okay. Well, the oscillation period is 16 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
So let's see where the red dot is after 16 minutes, because it was sitting right around the junction of those two circles at that point.
Yes, it was. That was the bit that I missed. Yes. Is it coming back now then?
Yeah, it's coming back. It's coming back
Right.
upscale to the middle again.
Oh, it is, isn't it? Yeah. In fact, you can see it now coming back. Actually, yeah, can't you?
So.
Yeah. So it's approaching the 16 minutes. Yeah, right. Yeah.
So much for the theory that my presence is doing anything. It's not doing a damn thing.
Maybe you got to have a certain food, like in your stomach, like you got to be full of a meal, and that might increase your body mass or something.
Yeah, maybe.
No.
Didn't you do some counts?
Might have been drinking distilled water or something.
No, you're anemic, Blue. Not enough iron in your system.
Blue, you did some calcs, didn't you? I think on whether or not your presence would affect anything, and you determined it'd be next to nothing.
I did, and it's extremely negligible, if I could get the word out of my mouth. You know, the funny thing about Anthony's claims, he somehow acts like that. You know, the fact that Cavendish had a brick wall between him and the experiment, right? He had a building out there that he had this thing in. Yeah, and there's a brick wall separating him from the experiment. But to the best of my knowledge, brick walls do not block gravity.
Indeed, we've yet to work out anything that can do that.
That's right. So whether that damn wall is there or not, Cavendish was there just like I'm there. In fact...
Yeah, and providing you're a decent distance away, I mean, obviously, possibly if you nuzzled up to it, then you might get some effect. But yes, I mean, providing you're a decent distance, the inverse square law basically says that it's not going to do very much.
Well, what you find out is that, of course, when you're straight off the end of the beam, right off the end of the balance, your gravitational attraction is not trying to cause the beam to rotate. It's when you approach this thing from the front or the back that you cause a problem.
Yes. Yeah, and it's 14 and a half minutes now since you did it. And it seems to have gone past the
gone past maybe a little bit.
But I don't. But I think it was already. But I think it was to the right when you actually did it. I mean, I could go and why did I go and check at 14 where it was? Yeah, going at 14.5 is actually quite a bit further to the right, actually. So yes. So in fact, it wasn't at the midpoint. It was a little bit to the right when you went there. So it's fine.
Remember we were talking about the densest objects densest material you could use for the weights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My notion was to use two flirt heads, being the densest objects on the planet.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure how. Yeah, if that's maximum density or minimum. At times, I think
it's about the same position now as it was 15 minutes ago. You were there 15 minutes ago, and I think it's about the same now. Comparing the two, in fact, it's probably slightly over now. So in fact, it looks to me as though this has got a period more like 14.5 minutes or something. Yeah, it's now gone past the position it was at 15. If you go back 15 minutes now, you'll see you were there, and it was not quite as far over as it is now.
Oh, it's hard to tell unless you.
Well, I've compared 2 frames, and it's definitely more like the period is more like 14.5 minutes.
If you compare 2 frames that are separated by 10 oscillations, you'll find out it's 949 seconds.
Okay, 16 minutes. Okay, actually now it's actually 16 minutes now. You did it. So.
And 949 is 15 minutes and 40 seconds. And that is the period. But I think it's pretty clear that if I had any effect on it, it was a minuscule effect.
Yeah.
There's virtually no effect there.
And his claim, and so what's presumably he hasn't quantified any of this. He's just basically saying he didn't do what Cavendish did and hide behind a wall, which, as we say, doesn't make any difference.
Well, he's totally misrepresented what Cavendish actually did say. Cavendish was talking about a change in temperature. Cavendish was concerned that if you get that enclosure and if you make one side of it hotter than the other side,
right,
then clearly you're going to set up a convective air current flow inside the box. Anthony is not even bright enough to realize that Cavendish was talking about air current inside that enclosure. Anthony thinks he was talking about airflow around the outside of it, which is bullshit.
Yeah, Cavendish was really hyper paranoid about temperature changes, wasn't he? Because I think he did establish it did change things. Did he not establish he was worried about temperature changes causing some of the results he was getting?
He stated that over and over again, and he never conclusively showed that it had anything to do with it.
Right. Okay.
Anthony just doesn't understand. He reads what he wants to read.
Absolutely. Well, let's not forget his classic analysis of this, which is the misunderstanding of what that 1/500,000 was, or whatever it was. Was it 50 million?
1/50 million.
Do you remember that bit?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 50 million. And he didn't understand that was referring to the force between the two balls as a fraction of the weight of the balls, and he thought, I can't remember now what he thought it meant.
He thought it meant,
he completely misunderstood.
He thought it meant gravity. Earth's gravity was a 50 millionth. That's what he kept trying to say.
50 millionth of.
He didn't know what it was a 50 millionth of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I can't remember now what he actually said he thought it was. Because obviously, just remind everybody, there's a phrase in the Cavendish paper where he says that the forces between the two balls are 1/50 millionth of their weight. And I can't remember what and he was reasonably clear about it, though it is quite confusing because Cavendish didn't use the terms weight and mass separately. He kept on using weight to mean both things, which is quite sometimes difficult to understand. But I can't remember now what Riley said that he thought they meant. And he kept on repeating this, and it was so obviously wrong. And so he cannot read for a start, as we've seen. He certainly can't write from his thesis, but he certainly couldn't he can't comprehend what things in quite clear English are saying. I mean, it's just, All
right, so I've got the Cavendish paper up in front of me right now. I wish I could show it on the screen, but I don't know how to do that. But I can read it out. And this is what Cavendish actually said. This is straight from his paper. He says, as the force with which the balls are attracted by these weights is excessively minute, not more than 1/50 millionth of their weight, it is plain that a very minute disturbing force will be sufficient to destroy the success of the experiment. And from the following experiments, it will appear that the disturbing force most difficult to guard against is that arising from the variations of heat and cold. For if one side of the case, I call it an enclosure, he uses the word case. For if one side of the case is warmer than the other, the air in contact with it will be rarefied and in consequence will ascend, while that on the other side will descend and produce a current which will draw the arm sensibly aside. Now that's as plain as the balls on a tall dog, okay? He is absolutely not talking about air current outside the damn thing. He's talking about convective current, convective airflow generated inside that enclosure if you make one side of it hot and the other side of it cold. Like might happen in, say, England in the middle of the friggin' winter if you open the damn door, okay?
Let draft, yes.
So let's go on. As I was convinced of the necessity of guarding against this source of error, I resolved to place the apparatus in a room which should remain constantly shut and to observe the motion of the arm from without by means of a telescope, and to suspend the leaden weights in a manner that I could move them without entering into the room. This difference in the manner of observing rendered it necessary to make some alterations to Mr. Michel's apparatus. And as there were some parts of it which I thought not so convenient as could be wished, I chose to make the greatest part of it afresh. He is clearly talking about temperature changes. He's clearly concerned that if he opens the door to that building, he could get a rapid temperature change just because he's exposing it to the outside elements. You know, in a room like that, like a brick building like he had, if it stays sealed up, the temperature of the air inside will tend to track the average temperature of the outside air. It won't follow the extremes. It is a great way to average things out. So
it was rather lucky, Bevan. In fact, the phrase that I brought up about the 50 millionth is actually part of the issue that, well, possibly this is actually why Riley brought it up, actually. He probably read just the next paragraph and thought about seeing outside the door. So that's probably why, in fact, they're connected, because the only thing he's ever read, I think, is that paragraph about the 50 millionth and then the issue about closing the door. So, in fact, that's quite convenient, though, that the two things are so close together in the text that he is indeed just clearly worrying there, as you say, just about causing a temperature change, and that's why he's hiding outside the door.
Exactly,
because, as you say, he's just trying to avoid a draft. Because
precisely, which is not a problem for me. This is atmospherically controlled in here. I don't have any issue with that unless I open this overhead door. Then that can be a problem. Shout out to Truth Nerds for £2. He says, didn't Riley take it for a statistical p-value? I don't know.
I wish I could remember what his claim was about that 50 millionth. It was utterly stupid.
I know he got it consistently wrong time and time again, and I think a number of us, you included, called him out on it.
Yeah, and I can't remember now what his claim. The trouble is, when someone makes so many stupid claims and so many errors, it's quite difficult to remember any individual one. But I do remember he made some really stupid claim about that, and every time he mentioned it, and I had the opportunity of correcting him, I did. And he kept on doing it. He didn't understand whatever it was, the stupid thing that he was saying. He didn't understand it was a fraction of the weight. He didn't, even though it's quite clear. I mean, that his text, Cavendish's text, is quite impenetrable sometimes. That particular bit is reasonably clear that he's referring to the force between the balls as being 1/50 millionth of their weight. In other words, that the attraction between the balls is 1/50 millionth of the attraction between the balls and the Earth. But that's pretty clear from that text. But yeah, he managed to turn that upside down. I wish I could remember now. Damn it! Should have made a video on it. Yeah, so that's quite convenient, actually. That text you've got there, he actually highlights what he thinks is going to be the main error and the main cause, and why he hides outside. Right? Okay. I didn't realise it was. I hadn't read that for some time, and I had forgotten that he'd installed all this telescope stuff then just to avoid temperature issues. Yes, because I certainly knew that was the thing he was most concerned about. and he's correct. Obviously, any sort of one thing, Blue. Actually, I mean, there's been some noises about. I think someone was just mentioning earlier. Was it who was it? Was it? Was it Terry mentioned about you putting things or something, hanging up pieces of rag or something, or paper tissue
Oh, a bit
to
of
see if there's
toilet
any.
paper. Yeah, it was a bit of toilet paper hanging on one of the horizontal beams there, just to see
Oh,
if
is
there's
there?
any draft. Yeah, just to see if they wavered in any breeze in there from the.
Yeah, there's a little breeze in here from this air conditioner, but it doesn't have any effect. You got a thermometer on the clock right there, reading 22
All right.
degrees centigrade. It's always somewhere in the range of 21 or 22 degrees.
I don't even think the paper really moved at all. I don't remember seeing it.
You could see it move a little bit when the air conditioner is on,
Okay.
but it doesn't change anything. I've been watching this thing for months now. That doesn't have any effect on it.
No. And you're happy with your result? I mean, you're getting, and the key thing is, of course, as I keep on saying, is the proof of the pudding's in the eating, and of course, you've got a result that's within a few % of the accepted result. So you must be very happy with that.
Yeah, the latest set of tests are within 0.3%.
Oh wow! This is the new wire. You think the new wire's improved things, do you?
I was able to get a few tests with that beryllium copper, but it was just too hard to deal with it. It wandered all over the place and wouldn't stop. So I pulled off a few, but I gave up on that. I've done one decent test with the tungsten, and it was very close. It was 6.68, I think.
And I think you said that the only thing you were going to change was the wire. So this is just the result of changing the wire.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Did you get any other diameter wire besides the 0.0071 one?
No, that damn wire is $80 for 25 feet of it.
Wow.
I'm not going to stock up on various sizes of tungsten.
Ow.
Yeah.
Well, I think being within 2% is pretty good. And if you're now getting to fractions of 0.3, whatever it was you said, then that's incredible.
It's as close, I think, as you could hope for with with a setup like this being done in a garage, for God's sakes.
I agree. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, it's
just to piss them off. Let's say we show them gravity. If we substantially proven that my presence over there didn't do a damn thing to it, I think so.
Yeah. When I look back at the position of the book, yes, if it wasn't quite in the middle when you went there, it was more over to the right, and so it was actually about nearer 16 minutes to the period.
I didn't make it move. Let me show you what will make it move. Hold on a second.
Ooh.
You're going to move your balls.
Ooh.
Yeah, move the camera down so everybody can see it. Let's see, which way do we want this? Which way do we want this to go? I want it to go upscale. So I want the beam to rotate clockwise. So to get the beam to rotate clockwise, the big ball on the right needs to go away from us, and the big ball on the left needs to come towards us, right? And that will cause it to rotate. That'll cause the beam to rotate clockwise, and we'll see the laser dot move upscale, up toward the white and the yellow circle.
So we're in the neutral position at the moment, okay.
So let's just do that.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
And building up. This is...
Everybody can see Blue's balls?
Yeah, climax coming up here. Action. Cue ball movement.
Normally balls hang one slightly higher than the other.
Or just tilt your head.
Not in Blue's case. Alright.
Yeah, but I'd hate to use tungsten wire to make mine be level.
There we go.
So Blue, how do you? Right, do you rest them on the wood then to make sure they're in the same position each time you do the test?
There's a stop, Rumpus. I don't think I can video it. But that wood, the horizontal pieces you see there, each one has a notch. Each one has a notch, and the rod slips up into that notch, and it bottoms out in the notch, and they're always positioned exactly the same.
Right.
Because
you can see
detailed photos, Rumpus, in my Discord under under Blue's Cavendish channel.
You can see them wiggling backwards and forwards. You're looking at it now. You can see it's still oscillate. The big ball's still oscillating actually from your movement, or not surprisingly.
Yeah, it takes it just a minute or two to get completely still again, but that doesn't really change anything.
Indeed. Just trying to. I'm just trying to think of all the possible things that are variables here. But yes, and obviously, I mean, given the fact you leave it there for 16, I mean, you leave it. Once you've done this, you say it still takes the period is still 16 odd minutes. So
yeah,
and you do this. You do I can't remember now. Do you do the same thing as Cavendish, where you do 3 oscillations and then take the measurements over 3?
That's what I've been doing lately. That's what I've been trying to do. Is the Cavendish method. He doesn't use 3 oscillations. Actually, uses 3 extremes. So it's 1 total oscillation.
You're right. Sorry. You're absolutely right. Sorry, you're absolutely right. Sorry, yes, I meant to say 3 extremes. Yeah, rather than 3 oscillations. He
confuses. He confused me a lot early on when I first started trying to figure out what he was doing. Just simply because he doesn't think of oscillation periods the way we do. To him, it's his period that he'll state as 7 minutes is actually from one extreme to the next extreme, which is half a period. To us, right? But in those days, I don't think they had a clear definition of what that was.
Yeah, and this is what it is difficult sometimes to go through this stuff, isn't it? Particularly when they don't use the word mass and weight, as we've now clarified, and then there's things like that. It just makes it very difficult sometimes to, as you say, to work out what the hell's going on. You don't really appreciate until you read this stuff, just how much clearer science is made. I mean, they're having to. I mean, God, these people are having to work it out for themselves and work out a language at the same time, and we get it handed on a plate in beautifully wonderful SI units and things that make everything so much clearer. And yet we still don't. We still can't do it as well as they can. I mean, it's just they really were.
Blue, your red dots moving to the right for some reason.
Yeah, Blue, danger! We've got a red dot on the run.
That damn gravity again. I moved the.
What the hell is going on? Alert!
I moved the
blue circle.
I moved the camera up so that you can see the top of it. You'll see the
off and away.
Adjuster mechanism up there. Just to prove I'm not twiddling around. I'm not twiddling with the adjuster or anything. I'm not. I'm sitting over here.
Pin Puncher just said, could you imagine a flatty conducting an experiment like this? Hacking darts with the AC on. Ridiculous. Well, Slappy's done a lot worse than that, dude.
What's that blue? What's the ball hanging in the distance there?
That's just a weight on the end of that rope.
Right, it's still wiggling around. Okay. Oh, I see.
Have a look at the pictures in my Discord.
Right, thank you.
Yeah, there's
I'm very keen on you.
There's the rope that's wrapped around the pulley up there at the top that I use to rotate. But
you are in my Discord, Rumpus, aren't you?
I think your Discord is called
Aussie Perspective.
I don't think I am actually. If you want to give a link in the put the link in the Discord chat here, I'll see. I don't think I am in the Aussie Discord. No, Aussie chat.
I'll send you a DM.
Yeah. Okay.
Now I've been going through Blue's videos, and been taking screen captures of different parts of it, and just for the people that want to know the little details.
Right.
Had enough of Pinhead.
Yeah.
Yeah, enough of Pinhead.
Oh, it's off! Bloody hell! It's off on a journey somewhere. It's going to go out. it's going to go off the scale. It's going to be off out of the room. It's off. My goodness gracious! Something's caused a change in something. Goodness
Amazing.
me. And it's even whatever it was, Blue. It was bigger than you being there. And you were quite a bit bigger than anything else we saw moving.
Yeah.
That inverse
Just
square law,
points out the side window and the neighbours start complaining.
And there's an odd correlation as well between you having done something and a movement. Strange correlation.
Very strange.
Well, that's great, isn't it?
It's
We're seeing
almost
gravity
like
in
there was
action.
some force.
Alan.
It's great to see gravity in action here in a way you've controlled it. And this is your you've controlled this. You've controlled the distance here, and obviously you kept the masses. This is your you set our independent. And this is our dependent variable in action.
Yeah.
Just amazing to think how tiny the force is that you're measuring. God, that little torsion balance is doing a wonderful job. It is unbelievably small.
Yeah.
Just unbelievably small. Unbelievably small. It's just extraordinarily
until
small.
You realise he poured his own lead balls with magnets in the middle.
Actually, says, what direction is the camera facing? The camera is facing due west at the moment. That's the orientation of the house here.
It's okay if I put my Discord and channel out in the peanut gallery, Blue.
Oh yeah.
I can't remember what what's the force is. What is it? Half the weight of a grain of rice or something? I can't remember now what the actual for your experiment.
How
many newtons is it?
It's 20 or 30 nanonewtons.
Right.
Something like that. It's tiny.
Yeah, you need to visualize it, Blue, in the picture or something, saying, have your little having this little image here. This is the force we're trying to measure here. This is the weight of this thing, or however fraction of a piece of rice is. Or a grain of sand or something.
Yeah, it's a very small force.
Yes, it's just...
Hello, Clive.
What has Clive done? Oh, yeah. Lost. One red laser beam spot if found contact blue. There you go.
Shot away like a charged off. Yeah. Great stuff. And of course, people don't appreciate the reason we got all this oscillation crap is that you need something like a torsion balance it's the only thing sensitive enough for it, and therefore, when you're going to use something like a torsion balance, unfortunately, you get this bloody oscillation as part of the system. You can't really.
Well, without the oscillation, you cannot calculate what the force is,
yeah, it's
impossible. You've got to, I won't say it's impossible. Yes, I can do the calculations and say theoretically, I can calculate the moment of inertia of the balance, and I can work out the torsional constant of the wire, and I can figure out what the oscillation period should be. Yeah, and I can do all those things. But the problem is there's material tolerances involved. There's material tolerances involved, and so when you actually, the calculated value for the oscillation period, if everything were exactly as it should be, the thing should have had an oscillation period of 1,003 seconds, 1003. Instead, in the real world, this wire ended up being 949, so it came up 50 seconds shy. But that doesn't take much of a change in the diameter of the wire. Maybe the wire is 0.00700. I don't know. But maybe it's 0.0071 or 715 or 72. That's quite possible as well. And that's more than enough to change. That sort of change in the diameter of the wire is more than enough to make up 50 seconds. So that's the reason why you have to do these things.
Yeah, because the wire, you're dealing with a really thin wire. To get the sensitivity, you need to have a thin wire. And unfortunately, with a thin wire, it means you've got to machine it or whatever. the tiny variations are going to cause big variations in your oscillation in the torsional constant. It's always coming back to us. It's got it right. We're it's on its way back. But yes, but my point is that with a balance like this, it's not like a spring balance where it sort of comes to a stop and you can measure it. Because of the sensitivity, it's got inertia. Once it's coming to, because it would be unfair to take the extreme value, of course, because it, to get to that position, it's got inertia, so it builds up a speed and a momentum, and so you then need to get you're trying to find where it is actually balanced, but of course it builds up the angular momentum in getting to that position, accumulating through the force being applied, and so it's not like a lovely simple spring balance or putting on something on some scales. The inherent properties of something being so sensitive is that it is going to oscillate. Unfortunately, you can't get away from it, which is annoying, but
yeah, not really. It's a good thing. Like I say, without the oscillation, I don't know, we would not be able to calculate anything.
Well, imagine it was like a spring scale, and it just went. Imagine it didn't have any inertia, then it would simply come to the maximum deflection. The deflection that gives you the equation. It would deflect, and then it would stop. If it had no inertia, it would come to the point that reflects the force of gravity, and then it would come to a stop. But because it's got inertia, it builds up a speed, and it's got an angular momentum that's going to carry on past the point which gives you the value you're looking for. And so then you have to do this mean business about going backwards and forwards to try and find where the position is trying to get to. But because there's inertia in the system of angular momentum, it goes too far, and then it goes too far and it has to go back again, and then you get oscillation. So if you could have if you could have a weightless torsion balance, and okay, this does require the balls also to be massless, I suppose, as well. Okay, that's not going to work. Okay, so you've got a problem. You've got an angular momentum in the system with the rotation, and that means that it's going to go past the point of, I suppose, if your torsion constant was very high and the force was really large, then it would come and stop immediately, and then you wouldn't have, like putting some weight on some scales. You don't have to wait for the scales to, when you weigh something, to oscillate backwards and forwards. They come to a fixed point quite quickly.
They still oscillate.
The forces in the spring.
They still oscillate. It's just they do it the damping is very, very quick.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so it's very quick. But so effectively, the oscillation stops very quickly. But obviously, you can't do that here because the force you're trying to measure, you wouldn't be able to do that if you put sufficient damping, i.e. by having a bigger spring torsion constant, whatever. Is it torsion constant of the wire you call it? What's it called?
Torsion
constant of the wire. Is it torsion constant?
Yep.
Right. So in other words, you if you made that bigger, then you wouldn't have, you'd have much less oscillation, but then your sensitivity would go down.
That's right.
So it's a problem.
What about immersing it in a liquid?
You'd kill it.
Yeah, I think the force required is so small. The viscosity of any liquid you put in there would be so great. That'd be greater probably.
Drag the bottom of the balls in a liquid.
Do what?
Drag the bottom of the balls in a liquid.
No, you'd never be. Well, don't try. Whatever you do, the last fucking thing you ever want to do is try to get rid of the oscillation. If you get rid of the oscillation, you kill the experiment. Can't determine anything without that oscillation.
But do you not accept my point, Blue, that if you could somehow put dampening on it, such the torsion constant was greater, then the oscillation is just a function of the fact that the force is small and the sensitivity has to be great, and it doesn't have to oscillate, in other words, to get a result. I mean, you could just leave it there to come to a midpoint, but obviously you don't want to do that because that takes so long. And if you could somehow increase that, reduce the oscillation, then, that involves more damping, which means you'd be reducing its sensitivity. So, yeah, you can't... I agree, in the real world, you can't avoid one or the other, but you could think of it in theory if you could have a smaller constant. What do you have to do?
I thought about
I'm sure
putting an air damper on it. I thought about that, like just take a small piece of paper at each end that would
Right.
offer more air resistance to the movement.
Right.
To see what that would do.
Right.
But now you're
That'd be
fundamentally
interesting.
changing the way Cavendish did it, and I didn't want to do that.
Yeah. Right.
No. Even a like a heavy gas, what they call it, hexafluoride.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have a similar effect. Yes, to dampen it with a slightly more viscous. Yes, I mean that's halfway going towards what you were saying about using a liquid. You would have a slightly denser gas, and that would then increase the damping on it
Just
very slightly.
Slightly heavier, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's an idea. So unfortunately, it's rather difficult to get hold of a gas. I mean, what would you want? You want the gas to be twice as dense or something? I mean, the hexafluoride I think is it 5 times denser than air or something?
8.
8, right?
It's
So
quite a bit.
8
yeah,
tons, I think.
Quite a bit more dense than air is.
yeah. So I mean, you could. So that'd be an interesting thing to try, certainly. And then it would reduce the period and get it to its midpoint.
Yeah, I mean, once you get through with it, you can throw a few different little things at it. As long as it was in a semi-sealed box, the hexafluoride's just going to sit in the bottom anyway.
Actually, what
Not going to lose any type thing.
yeah, what the guys that are trying to measure this thing out to 5 or 6 significant figures, they're the guys that do it in a vacuum. They don't try to they don't try to reduce the damping period. They intentionally increase it.
Yeah,
because once you remove the air resistance, there's nothing left except the internal resistance of the wire itself. That's the only damping.
And of course, if you're thinking of the same one I'm thinking of, they have lots and lots of balls in there, so the forces they've got are quite a bit bigger, aren't they? And they have in the vacuum, I can't remember now. It's sort of like a big gold-looking cylinder or something. There's a whole lab devoted to this, isn't there, in the US somewhere? I can't remember, on the East Coast. And they've got I can't remember. There's about 16 balls or something they've got inside this thing. And they don't quite use a Cavendish setup. I can't remember now. It's like a cylinder or something they've got, where they've got balls placed around it. But yeah, and it's in a vacuum. It's obviously to avoid anything untoward, like, because obviously if you do something like put in hexafluoride, then you might mix it up with air, and then you've got sort of flows of air going on, which are going to potentially screw things up. I mean, a vacuum is obviously the environment you'd want to do it into to minimise all sorts of stuff.
Did somebody forget to mention that the red dot didn't quite make it all the way to the orange circle?
It got as far as the white one, didn't it? There isn't an orange circle. There's yellow, white, purple, and blue, green.
Well, the one next to the blue one, what colour's that one?
There's no blue one.
Well,
There's a purple one.
What colour? Purple.
Green.
Green.
There's a green one to the left, then there's a purple one, and then there's a big gap, and there's a white one and a yellow one.
Yeah, the red dot didn't go all the way into the green one. Very
Oh, right.
The white one and the yellow one are meaningless now.
Yeah,
so I'm going to move.
Yeah, because of course it's. Sorry, please.
I'm just moving those upper circles out of the way. They don't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't expect it to go back to that position, Terry, because obviously it's now been the midpoint. The point it's going to settle on is now in between. Well, it got as far as the white one, didn't it? And so somewhere the mid, presumably the point it's trying to settle on is somewhere between. Well, he's moved it now. Okay, where the white circle was and the purple circle were, between those two, is now where it's trying to settle. So you wouldn't expect
it to go to the yellow circle now.
Yeah, no, you set a target for it.
Those upper circles have no longer had any meaning to me. That's just where it settled originally, and I've got plenty of video where that was, so I don't care. I'm going to get them out, just move them out of the way, and so it doesn't confuse everybody.
Yeah, it was actually confusing. I didn't understand what they were until you told me, so yes, I think they were confusing, yes.
But this typically is what it does. This first oscillation, it goes all the way back to just about the 0 point, the resting point that you started at. But now this is going to go upscale to wherever it goes, and then we'll mark that point, and then it goes back down scale, and we mark that point. Then we got 3 extremes, and we can average it and see what deflection it is.
Yeah. And so you're saying you've got an almost quite a large increase in accuracy of it by just changing the wire to the tungsten wire.
I don't know that I got a big increase in accuracy. The jury's out on that one still.
Right.
The only thing what I don't like about this is I really do wish I would have probably used a smaller diameter tungsten, but to get the deflection I was looking for, I'd rather
want a bigger deflection.
Yeah, I'd rather the deflection be 50 millimeters. This is going to be around 32 or 33 millimeters, something like that, and half that this time. Okay, because we're just going from a neutral point. So I don't expect that the deflection is going to be more than 16 millimeters in this particular test.
Right.
That's what you would anticipate it being. So it would be nice if it were more deflection than that, but if I dropped to 0.006, the oscillation period goes from 16 minutes to almost 24 minutes. And now you got a real pain in the ass, in terms of the length of time it takes to run the test. So.
Yeah. Yeah, science is hard, isn't it? God, can you imagine a flatty putting this amount of time and effort into something like this? It's just not even possible that they consider such a thing.
Well, they'd try for 20 minutes and go,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's like great to see a bit of
you're talking about the effort they've gone to use a spirit level with a bit of duct tape and a couple of kettlebells and a toe ball hitch.
Yeah, I suppose the effort they put into that thing Riley's Dr. John Dee's done. Yes, I suppose they did get some guy to put a bit of effort in actually on that one. But then they don't include a torsion balance. I mean, it's just extraordinary to have not understood. To have not understood into the experiment to the point of not putting in a torsion balance. It's just amazing.
Yeah,
you cannot go past Daniel Pratt's water on top of his barbecue. I mean, that took some real thinking.
I missed that one.
The water level, the spirit level.
He put a piece of nylon pipe, plastic poly pipe, with some water in it, put it on top of his barbecue, and said all the water should rush to the center because that's where the gravity's the strongest, where the barbecue is. Didn't you see that one?
Yeah, he bends the pipe.
He was doing real science.
Yeah, he got a tube that was like half full of water, and he had it horizontal and it's half full of water, and then he bends it around the top of his tubular barbecue, and the water drops off to either side. And he said, "There you go, all the water should run off." Because he can't.
He was saying it should all come back into the middle because the barbecue was there, and that's where the gravity's strongest. That's how smart he is.
It's been a while since I remember watching him doing it and blabbering on. I think I probably actually turned my brain off so that it didn't get infected.
Yeah. Alan.
Yeah, I said Alan when he dropped in.
Yeah.
Oh, I missed it. Steve.
Yeah, what am I doing up at this time of night, Alan?
Yeah, I was going to say, what are you doing up at this time of night, Terry?
Yeah, I just looked at the time and thought, oh shit.
Yeah.
Well, I had to wait till Blue played with his balls, so I had to watch that bit.
You sure it's not 44 minutes past 4?
No, it's 22. It's 25 minutes past 2, isn't it?
No,
Yeah.
no, it's got to be 4.
I don't think Blue's chat knows about that. Not all of them, anyway. There's a couple of people out there that I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yes, I know. It should be 16 minutes to 5, shouldn't it? That's Terry's perfect time. Is 16 minutes
Yeah.
to 5.
Yeah, for sure. Where are you, Mike? South Australia, I take it, or WA.
There's
Mike, this it's 12:24 p.m.
Oh, okay.
I've got 2:25 p.m.
12:24. Well, yeah, he'd have to be definitely nearly Perth.
Well, he'd be Adelaide, wouldn't he?
No, Adelaide's half hour, so it's not that. It's not Adelaide. Adelaide's
Canada.
half hour.
Oh, 12:24 p.m.
PM.
Sorry, Mike.
PM, yeah. North of the border, not south of the border.
And yesterday.
What is? Oh.
I don't know if you know, Blue, but Sleeping Warriors just uploaded a video about you, and it said the title is "The Most Dishonest Blurfer Strikes Again." BlueMarbleScience is totally delusional. So there we go. The classic accusation of being a liar straight away.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've made 13 YouTube's accounts to get to those people, and they're all blocked. I've tried being nice. I've tried changing the way I speak. I've tried everything, and they block me every time because I ask a question, and that's it.
Who's been blocking you?
Oh, Oakley, Flappy, all of them. As soon as I ask a question, I got kicked out of the server, because I asked the same question about 5 times because they kept just deflecting and wouldn't answer it.
Yeah, you haven't been abusive, have you? I mean, you're not an abusive character, are you?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, you are an abusive character, or yeah, you're not an abusive character.
I can be.
All right.
But I just don't like dishonesty. If they answer a question, fine, but they kept skirting the question, so I pushed it, and yeah, therefore you're a troll, or you're this, or you're that, because they won't answer a question.
You see, this is the problem. You've been too nice, you see. Whereas I call Nathan an obnoxious moron, and then you say ask him a question, and you get punished, and I don't.
I've called him much worse than that. Let me tell you.
Okay, well, I must admit, I don't tend to use extreme abuse. I have quite reasonably low limits in comparison to other people who aren't prepared to call people, but I'm forceful about it. But,
I've asked to meet him in a pub.
Oh God, yeah.
Or in the alley behind a pub.
Yeah, I mean, he keeps on saying, "Oh, he's teabagging people, how tough he is," and you just know that this is a guy who's just used to hiding in his bedroom with behind a mute button and then delivering abuse. And in real life, he'd just be a bloody pussy.
Yeah.
Just like Anthony.
Yeah. Yeah. He's the one you really do want to bump into in a dark alley. Now say you're going to rape me. Now say you're going to.
Yeah, exactly. Me. Yeah, he uses that sort of language, doesn't he? Yeah, he uses the most obnoxious, brutal language that you could imagine a thug on the street using. Yeah, it's totally unacceptable.
Yeah, but he's a snowflake.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, just way beyond what's anywhere acceptable. Yeah.
He wouldn't be able to fight his way out of a wet paper bag.
Though he has, I mean, I remember 2 years ago or something, he was saying, I can do whatever I like on my channel, I'm 6'2", or something like that.
Is that all?
Great. Yeah. So he's just saying, because, you know, it's a little Hitler, they get a little bit of power, and so they then think they can abuse it. I mean, you just know that sort of character, you know you wouldn't put in charge of anything, because they would abuse whatever little power they've got. And as I understand it, he did get punched in the face, either by his boss, or someone, or slapped in the face, or something like that, in his job. I can't remember now. I'm repeating, this is second-hand information, but it's something, he did have something, got hit or something like that by his boss in his previous job. And obviously if he behaves like he does, so perhaps in real life a little bit like he does online, and there was the result.
Well, we got a typical response from somebody that says that in Riley's situation, if he says he's 6'2", we'd just say, we didn't know you could stack shit that high.
He is just an appalling character. He really is. I mean, and even if you decide to,
I'm 6'2".
But I mean, even if you,
well, there you go. You want me to
I mean, even if you, I mean, even if you say, sorry, Karen, he said he was 6'2". Sorry, just a quick point. Even if he, there's a lag here. Sorry, guys.
I bounce pubs and clubs.
I'm just trying to lighten the conversation.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, even if you say that he's giving a performance, and I think he is to some degree, he's trying to play a role, the obnoxious git role, but you still got to be a bit of an obnoxious git to even put that on. So either way, however, he's acting like an obnoxious git or he is an obnoxious git, either way, he's an obnoxious git.
I haven't got Riley's channel anymore, did he?
Yeah, he got kicked off. Yeah, he's got a new one. It's called exactly the same thing. So if you do a search on Sleeping Warrior, and you'll see the video he's just posted about Blue, in which he says Blue is the most dishonest blurfer. I don't know what's a blurfer.
Who knows?
Oh, blurfer. I suppose it's Blue Earther.
Yeah, they're trying to play around with
Ball Earther.
Ball Earther.
Okay. Right, gotcha. So the most dishonest blue. Okay. Yeah, the most dishonest blurfer.
Or Anthony Riley.
Sleeping Warrior is the name of his new same as the old channel, same avatar, so you should be able to find it pretty easily.
Sloppy wanker.
Yeah, sloppy wanker git. Lying sloppy wanker git. Yeah, and do a search on that and you'll find him straight away.
Oh, look at that. It came up, Anthony.
Told you it would.
Terry, you know I said the other day about that dashcam video that I saw, that I could have sworn it was Oakley on there. I found it again. I'm absolutely certain it's Oakley that says, "Bloody Peugeot!"
Okay. Geez, the only videos he's got here was about Blue.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much.
I think he's in love with you, Blue.
Yeah, it seems that way, doesn't it?
Okay, I think I'm gonna watch this video.
There's something about my balls that really intrigues him.
Yeah, most astonished blurfer strikes again.
Well, what he's trying, what the asshole is trying to do is goad me into making response videos to this stuff. You notice how many subscribers he's got? He used to have 5,000. What's he got now? 250?
243.
There you go. Nice job, Anthony. Way to bounce back, big boy.
We're going to have to share what you're
doing. And half of those are people just wanting to see stupidity.
You're going to have to share what you're doing on my channel one day, Blue, with a Zoom thing, and I can just share what you're doing, and we can play a video in between and all sorts of stuff.
Oh, sure. We can do
that. This video of Riley's is actually a video about this video.
That's great.
So anything you say now, I think he's finished it, but he's basically putting in Blue's claim about his test for his presence. So, and he's made a copy of it, and then presumably he's about to abuse. I've only watched the first few seconds of it, but that's what it's about. It's about this very hangout.
That's great. That is wonderful. I love it.
Great.
It was probably him on one of the pinheads or something or other.
Oh, this is driving him crazy.
One of those accounts.
Yeah. This is driving him absolutely crazy. I've just accepted the fact that no matter what, Anthony's going to continue to call me a liar and a cheat. He's going to keep right on doing that. And he'll do that because we're separated by an ocean. But I'll maintain, even I'm 71 years old. Obviously, I'm not climbing in a boxing ring with anybody. But I'm no different than Buzz Aldrin. You call me a liar to my face, and I'm going to hit you in the mouth.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'll take it on. Not a problem.
Who was that asshole that followed Aldrin around for years, calling him a liar? Who, big goofy guy? I can't remember his name now.
Followed who?
But he called Aldrin, Buzz Aldrin, a liar one time too many, and Aldrin hit him right in the mouth. It was fantastic. Oh, yeah. It was absolutely fantastic.
Yep. Yeah, you can. That's be nice. But it's the same in my job. Be nice. When it's enough time not to be nice.
Yep.
Oh, now you're confusing me, Blue. We've got too many circles.
Okay, let me move some. Here, get rid of the yellow.
Oh, that's right. I'm looking at the wrong thing. I shut the wrong tab down. Okay. I had too many tabs open. I was closing the wrong ones.
Too much high IQ research.
No, I forget I opened tabs up.
Yeah, I'll take care of Mr. Riley in due course. I'm not going to take him apart a piece at the time. I'll just wait and do it all at once. Got some surprises for you too, Anthony. And here's a question, Anthony, since you're watching. Why didn't you pay attention to Nathan Oakley the other day? Nathan was actually decent at the end of that show when he asked you to stop calling me Hillbilly Blue Balls. Why didn't you do that? Nathan at least seems to be trying to put his game on a little higher level. You just crawl further and further down the damn gutter. What's your problem, Riley?
I'm going to take over from Oakley.
I'm perfectly capable of doling out the insults too, but I don't see the point in it. You know, from day one, though, and Quantum Erasure's the one that started that hillbilly blue balls nonsense. And they all just go on and on with that. And truthfully, I don't really care. Being called a hillbilly is not necessarily an insult. But think about it, boys. Consider this. What does that say about you when a hillbilly continually outsmarts your stupid ass?
That's the icing on the cake.
Yeah.
I mean, really, what does that say? What does that say about your ability?
About his art debating skills. That's where he has to go.
Yeah, true.
So I knew dated a girl from Kentucky. She's quite proud of being a hillbilly and quite distinct from redneck as well. But it was you were talking about Bart Sibrel.
Yeah, Bart Sibrel. Yeah, that's the guy.
However you say it.
Yep.
He's the one that produced the A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon.
Right.
And I was just seeing yesterday that Gem Panda actually he did like a whole 9-part series debunking that whole debacle.
Blue, I've just watched the video from Anthony Riley, and his two key points are, one, that Cavendish says that obviously he does stand outside the room and doesn't go in there, and you're not doing that. And the other key point, he almost doesn't understand fully the paragraph actually you read out about the current. I think there are 2 parts of the video. One, he seems to not understand it, but the other one he does recognize that's to do with the heat inside the box. And the second thing he uses as evidence is that you did post a video in which you said that your presence when you were setting up something did affect it. So he's using that quote of yours to say that you've admitted that your presence will affect the results.
Yeah, it'll make a slight. I've shown that, Rumpus. I've actually shown it. Yes, I can position my body in certain spots around this area and have an effect on it. One thing that I have to be careful about is when I wasn't paying attention early on, when I would set up my time lapse to look at the laser. It takes a minute. I've got to plug the AC power adapter into the camera, and then set the time lapse settings and all that stuff. So that puts me over there, on the side of the experiment where my mass would be trying to make the thing rotate. And I had a habit of standing over there while I was doing all that to the camera, and then I realized, wait a minute, that's what's I'm throwing things off a little bit now. Not that makes any difference. Once I leave, it goes right back where it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, Riley's just grasping. They're desperate right now.
Yeah, I just thought you wanted to know what the accusation was, and he was citing the fact you have said that it will affect it. But as you point out, when you leave it, then the effect is whatever effect it was. As you say, you've avoided that now. The way you did it just now, you avoided doing that, and the effect disappears obviously when you go away. So whatever, it's a transitory effect, if any effect at all. So it doesn't affect your results in the slightest.
Well, I just showed that when I do what I normally do, just for making these measurements, it has no effect.
Exactly. So you're answering his criticism here. Yeah.
I'm not setting up any time.
He only watched.
Yeah.
Yeah. He only watched the start of this video in which you make the claim, and then he hasn't shown the bit where you actually demonstrate that your movement doesn't actually affect it. So he hasn't got that bit. He's just got the claim at the start where you say you're going to do this.
You identified the variable and then eliminated it.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's worth. So yes, he hasn't caught on to the fact that the whole point of this video is that you're trying to demonstrate that his claim is incorrect, and he hasn't processed that bit because by the time he obviously released it, you had not done that bit. But now you've demonstrated the effect. Well, we can't see an effect.
Well, as we've been.
It almost sounds like a flirt was cherry picking.
Yeah.
As we've been chatting, I ran the Cavendish calculations. We had an extreme at 206. Then we had a low extreme at 179. This last extreme that I had the white circle around, it was at 212. So we averaged 206 and 212. And then we averaged that with 179. Let me make sure I did this right. 206 plus 212. Yeah. Wait, jeez. 212. Damn it. Try again.
Yeah, don't rush it. Don't rush it, Blue.
206 and 212 averages 209, and then average that with 179. And 194 using that method, the method that Cavendish uses. The resting point is 194, and my guess was 195, so it's reasonably accurate.
Yeah, that's good. And what does that give G as a result? How accurate does that give a G result of?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
What's the percentage? How close is it to the accepted? What value of G does that, what we just observed, give, and how close is that to the accepted value of G?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to go do some much more serious calculations, and I've got it all in a spreadsheet because it takes a long time.
I was about to say, I just imagined you hovering over a spreadsheet that's already, and you can just put in the figures, and then it'll pop out the answer. But if you haven't, then fine.
I don't think I've got it out here on this computer.
Right.
Let me.
It just would have been nice. It would just be nice to have seen it pop up now, saying from your little test we will be watching, bang, value of G's, da-da, from what we've just been watching. It'd be quite nice.
Yeah, I think it's a little below the 6.67. I think. I don't know. Well, let me see if I can.
Yeah, don't rush it, G. Blue. If you can't do it, you can't do it.
I'm not even going to try to do it out here. That's.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. That's great.
But I'll tell you what, if you guys will amuse yourself for a moment, that's the deflection, and the center point was also 179, or at least the approximate center point, the resting point of the oscillation before we started anything, was about 179. So that's a let's see, 194 minus 179. That's a deflection of 15 millimeters, so that would be 30 millimeters total. But yeah, that's going to come out a little bit low. If we assumed it was symmetrical, you know, you'd have a total of 30 millimeters deflection. Let me go stick it in. It'll be 5 point something probably, but this is not really the way to run the test. You need to go from one extreme to the other.
Right. Okay. I thought you just took the 3 points that Cavendish did, and I thought you had the 3 points.
Yeah, I do, but compared to what? How far did it move? And I'm using the resting point of a neutral position of the big balls, and that's not a good way to do it. You need to go with the big balls all the way in one position, and then go to the other extreme.
Right. Okay then. Okay.
You'll get rough approximations this way, but that's about all. I don't trust these.
Yeah. Right. Okay. I hadn't realised. Right. So you are right. So you actually put the balls in the other position to get the deflection the other way. Right. Okay.
Right.
I see.
And I will not be doing that today simply because the thing had drifted down scale, and if I move them now to the opposite position, it's gonna shoot the laser all the way off the scale. It just will.
Right. Oh, will it?
Yeah. Although we could do that just to see it if you want to.
Yeah, see some action, Blue. Want to see some action?
Yeah, if you want to see some stuff.
I was going to say, I've got big balls. If I move to the other side of the room, maybe I can affect it.
We'll give it a go. Yeah, give it a go.
Maybe. Yeah, that might be fun. You want to see the laser go all the way off to the left?
We do. We want to see maximum action, Blue.
Well, let's give it.
Shady. That's Shady, Rumpus, not Terry.
Sorry, Shady. Sorry. I keep on getting. Sorry about that.
Well, let's give it a.
Was an insult or a compliment?
Yeah, sorry. I meant. Yes, I didn't think actually it was Terry, but I've forgotten. Yeah, sorry.
So what are we doing?
Blue is going to show us some big action by gluing the balls on the other side. So this is not part of a measured approach here. Blue's lashing out wildly here, just to show us. He's lashing out wild.
You're working without a net, Blue.
Let's get let's get the maximum effect, and the way we do that is let's let it go all the way up scale as far as it'll go. And then I'll move them.
So it just gives us an idea about the extremes of behaviour. And obviously not the usual measured approach that Blue uses to actually get some results. But this is just a wild indulgence just to demonstrate the extremes of behaviour of the system.
Mostly just to stick my finger in Anthony's eye one more time.
Why not? It's nothing.
It's not even any. It's not even any fun to outsmart Anthony. I mean, it's a lot.
Yeah, it's a bit easy, isn't it?
It's a lot like kicking Bambi. I mean, for God's sakes.
Actually, well, Bambi would be quite difficult to kick. I mean, I don't know if you've been near a deer or something, but they are very difficult to approach, and they run away very quickly.
Yeah, they do.
Bambi versus Godzilla. That was a great cartoon.
I think Fish in a Barrel is a bit more like it.
That sounds exactly like Anthony, though. Very difficult to approach and run away as soon as you approach.
Yeah, I mean, he keeps on threatening to buy me a drink in real life that I'd want to have a drink with him. No, sorry, I don't think so. You're a little lying git, and you accuse other people of being dishonest all the time. And you accuse people who are clearly not lying of being lying gits, and it's just, I wouldn't want to have a drink with someone like that. Thank you very much.
I'll dress up like you and come over.
You get the most expensive drink it, and then leave.
Yeah, perhaps. Yes.
Yeah, as long as he buys the first round.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, when he met Al Kay in St. Bees in Cumbria, he bought the guy a drink. He tried to, he was nice to him. And the next day, what did he do? He then abused him like crazy, called him a liar, and then he wrote Miles Davis is a liar in chalk on the outside on the pavement of the cafe. So it's two-faced. It's just, utterly insincere. And same with Ranty, he'd do the same thing. When I was doing presentations or George was doing presentations, he'd be super nice to you when you're contributing to his channel. And he used to give all these compliments and things, or semi-compliments, and try to be nice to you. And I knew it was all insincere. And I knew that next day he would then come along and call you a lying bastard. And you just knew, and I was prepared to accept that's what he was like. He's a lying, he's a git. But other people would George, I think at one point thought Ranty was an okay character when he did presentation, but you knew that the next day that he'd have a go at you. And Riley's just the same. You don't want someone buying you a drink and then knowing that they're being completely, it's completely dishonest of them, insincere. They're not buying you a drink because they're being friendly. They're doing so they can then, I don't know, just abuse you the next day. And it's just sod off. I don't want to drink with you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, but most of the time that's just a defense mechanism to say that you did get along and they don't mind who you are. They'll just say it in the opposite.
Yeah, well, I'm really tolerant. Yeah, I can live with other people. I'm a really generous character. Exactly. It's a false portrayal. And then it's just totally insincere. You're absolutely right. And then it's insincere. And then, underneath they've still got the same obnoxious behaviour. They're always thinking of someone's lying.
This is why I can't deal with Katz's new channel when he's with Ranty. I refuse to go anywhere near it.
Sorry,
all the cats. Conspiracy Cats and Randy have got that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I totally agree with you.
I won't go near it.
Absolutely agree with you 100%. I warned Cats about this. Unfortunately, I did it after they'd agreed to do it. And I said, Cats, you really don't want to be associating with this guy in any way whatsoever. And I've certainly not subscribed. I've not watched anything on it at all. So I completely and totally 100% agree with you.
Yeah, it keeps coming up on my feed and my recommendations, and it's just nope. And I think I've actually hit the do not recommend button on it.
Right. Are they still doing a weekly show then?
I think so.
Well,
I do trip over it.
Sorry, go ahead.
I do trip over it in the side recommendations or something, so maybe I haven't done that. But yeah, I refuse to bother with it at all.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't even looked at it, so I have no idea what the hell's on there. I did think that perhaps I did once. They had 6 programs or something, 6 hangouts that they'd done. I can't remember how I found out. I didn't go and search.
Well,
I can't remember.
They've been doing ghosts and different things, and it's no thanks.
Exactly. Keep well clear of it. I think Baldy Cat is going to regret it.
Because I like Cats, but I will end up saying something in the comments that I don't.
Yeah.
It'll offend Cats as well, so I don't want to do that.
Yeah. Cats is a nice guy. I mean, he started off in the naive camp like George about he thought Anthony Riley was he thought being a teacher, he was going to be generous in spirit to Riley. He was really nice to him. He gave him a pass on that GCSE test that he did, even though he didn't deserve it.
Yeah.
And then of course, and I was thinking when he did this, I thought this poor guy, he's trying to, he's assuming that Riley's a reasonable character, and then he's going to get caught out on this. And then it took about 2 or 3 weeks before Baldy Cats realised that this guy's a git. And then he obviously, since then, has realised that there's no point in being nice to him.
Rumpus, to answer...
I expect him for giving him the benefit of the doubt, but...
To answer a question you had a while ago, is I'm about to go move the balls, but I'm going to reach in there quickly, and I'm going to point at the notches in those horizontal boards, and watch when I rotate it. You'll see that far ball as it comes back here slip up into that notch. That's how they're positioned. That's how I know they're always positioned exactly the same. So here we go. Watch this.
Right here.
Yeah, you can just sort of see that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, but what he wants to do to you, he figures he should at least buy you a drink first.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all part of projectioning of that. I'm going to meet you in the middle type behaviour. It's a veneer of reasonability that in fact doesn't exist. It's insincere.
Sounds like a Trojan horse.
I like someone to take me out for dinner and buy me a drink before they screw me.
That's what I'm saying. That's
here we go.
Plan.
All right. I see. Thank you, Blue. All right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha, Blue. I see. Gotcha, Blue. Thanks.
You could be quicker with liquor.
Right.
Oh, by the way, thanks, Rumpus, for correcting me yesterday about the tangent must be perpendicular. Thanks.
Oh, well, my pleasure. I didn't. My
because
pleasure.
They were using that as a point of contention, and I was like, yeah, but you're like technically that's one of the rules of a tangent, but yeah.
Yeah. That's fine. Thanks. Well, hopefully you'll be able to correct me about something, because you make lots of intelligent comments. So you might be able to perhaps see if I'll make an error on something.
So there we go.
Right. Let's see some blue ball, red ball on blue on red action.
So it's going to move.
You think it's going to shoot off the scale, Blue? You think it's going to shoot off the scale?
Yeah, I'm quite sure it's going to.
Right, expectations are high here.
Just see what Dora wrote. Blue is a swinger. Guess that is confirmed.
I see the spot wiggling around a little bit. I accidentally bumped the case. Very, very gently. But you only have to just barely touch it. I let the big ball there on the other side kind of just barely touch that case. It's, the rod is springy, so you have to be really gentle. And I wasn't as gentle as I should be.
Someone in the chat has just mentioned that Riley didn't know about forces equal to mass times acceleration. Let's not forget, of course, he thinks that 5 divided by 0 is 5. But about a year and a half ago, I had to explain to him that what a force was, and he denied, for instance, that if you were standing on a floor, that it was applying a force to you upwards. In case of gravity, he didn't understand that there was a net force of 0, and he didn't understand what a force was, and I had to spend, I don't know, on bloody Skype, it must have been about an hour to explain to him what a force was, and he didn't understand it. And then this person said, and this was about a year ago, and I think since then he has understood it. But it's absolutely correct, the comment in here, he didn't know the force is equal to mass times acceleration. Worse than that, he didn't know what a force was. So, and then of course since then, he got so much crap with this 5 divided by 0. And another classic one, when you talk to John Watson, he was thinking that if you go along a horizontal piece of water, a tube, underneath a body of water, that the pressure changes from one end of the tube to the other if it's perfectly horizontal. I mean, he was trying to describe. It's just. I can't go. It's just the number of crap. It's just so much crap that comes from these people. You just can't keep up.
I like. Was it Thompson? And they were asking about distances, and it was I think it was actually Katz did it.
It was kilometre. You're going to talk about kilometres and miles, aren't you?
Yeah, I can't work in kilometres. I'm used to working in miles. Like, what Serious.
I think 5 divided by 0. I think I provoked him into saying that.
I know
That's
I did.
quite special.
I know I did.
Right.
But he'd already done it. I think you'd already done it to him once.
Yeah, he'd already done it with me, and then he repeated it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's that stupid that he repeated the thing to Blue. I mean, Jesus Christ. I mean, this guy. I mean, when do you realise that that's a problem? About 6, 7, 8. I mean, when you realise that that's an issue, because you're going to tell me that how many times 0 makes 5, and it's not 5. it's 5 times nothing. It's still nothing. I mean, it doesn't require too much effort.
That's a lot of nothing.
It is a lot of nothing. I mean, it's
not in Slurf math.
I mean, the thing was, what he would do, of course, is I think his argument, well, if he had one, is that in the real world, if you had 5 and you tried to divide, you'd still have 5. He does the same argument with the ice creams, doesn't he? If you've got 5 ice creams and you give away 3 ice creams, how many ice creams you've got or something? And basically, it involves in not recognising what negative numbers are. But the point is,
he doesn't pay his debts.
Good point, exactly, because that's where negative numbers came from. Accounts and debts, exactly right. But he doesn't seem to understand that 5 divided by 0, even whatever the real world situation is, that's a mathematically defined operation. So it doesn't matter what physical analogy you're trying to do, we've got the mathematical operation defined. And so that's what you have to go with. When he says 5 divided by 0, that is a mathematical defined operation. Or that gets an undefined result.
Did you ever answer the question, what's the angles of an internal triangle besides 1 and 1 and 1?
I think he did get that right in the end.
Yeah, it took him about 3 or 4 minutes to get it up on it, but he had to Google it.
He had to find the triangle calculator.
Yeah.
Yes, it does indeed. These people all do that. None of them, it seems to me, can do any trigonometry at all. You ask them any trigonometric question, and invariably they have to go off to some trigonometric triangle calculator to do anything. I mean, Arwin, about 2 years ago, I confronted him with the trigonometric problem. Oh, actually, I gave him the sides of a triangle, and he tried to use Pythagoras. I gave him an angle and a side, and he tried to use Pythagoras to solve it. These people think they can talk about quantum mechanics. They can't even do basic trigonometry. That Red Bull's off.
Yeah, exactly.
That Red Bull's off, isn't it? They think of quality. They talk about entropy, and of course, was it QE thinks until a few months ago when I kept on nagging him, thought that the second law of thermodynamics and entropy were the same thing. He thinks Google Earth is a flipping flat Earth model. He tried to work out the dip angle on what an aircraft has to do to dip to follow the Earth, and he got that completely wrong. I've only ever seen him do one mathematical calculation, which was with the aeroplane, and he got it just as wrong as Jeranism and bloody, I think, Bob Nodell did. They can't even do the most simple maths. What else does QE? I mean, there's 10 proofs he had.
Who was it? Was it QE who did the...
Oh, red dot's gone. Red dot's gone.
Hey.
Yeah. Oh, it's gone.
Red dot's trying to escape.
Got to do a shout out.
BlueMarbleScience.
Got to do a shout out for Judy Bassett, €5, 4-year lab assistant. Thank you, Judy. She's talking about Joker. My lab assistant.
It's €10, Blue, not 5.
Did I say 5? Okay, I meant 10.
Who was the guy that did the... Was it QE that said that stowaways in undercarriage of planes didn't die because of lack of oxygen? It was the lack of
something
pressure.
like that. By the way, the red dot's gone away, boys.
I gotta go to bed, Blue. I'm a bit tired here, man.
Yeah, Terry.
Catch you later, guy.
Yeah, man. Glad you dropped by.
Take it easy now.
See, the red dot went away, Rumpus.
Indeed, I shouted it out when it happened. Yes, absolutely right. Yeah, that's action. That's action stations there.
Let me go over there. I can go over there and read it and see what it goes down to. You guys keep talking.
Okay.
That didn't take very long to disappear either, did it?
Yeah, I think it was Q. And QE come up with something. I'm not sure if it was QE. I think it was, but they said about Sherpas taking stuff to the top of Mount Everest. That it was only because the other people going up there weren't healthy that they couldn't breathe with the lack of pressure. It wasn't
Really?
the lack of oxygen, it was the lack of pressure.
Called HAPE and HACE, high altitude pulmonary edema, and then high altitude cerebral edema.
Yeah, so EIE network instead. That was Spurs. It was Spokism.
Oh my
Correct.
God! This Spurs. There is no pressure. No such thing as pressure. My God.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Absolutely Spurs.
These
But he
people.
tried to cite using newspaper articles and things that people had survived, so they must have been healthy, because only the unhealthy wouldn't do it. And it wasn't lack of oxygen; it was lack of pressure, and that was caused by the cold.
Oh yeah, cold
Oh,
causes
that's right.
pressure.
That's why he thought temperature was. Yeah, it was temperature issue, not pressure, wasn't it? He thinks
I
there's
thought
no pressure.
created heat.
Yeah. I think those who have tried that trick and survived have been very lucky to be on short-haul flights that don't get up too high.
I agree. People have survived, but a lot of people have died. Yes, and I think I don't know whether if you obviously wrap yourself in a.
And they very well may have came from a high altitude place to begin with.
That's
so they've been slightly better at it. Your body's already half acclimatized, so I don't know. But he tried. He pulled up like 2 cases.
True.
He pulled up like 2 cases, and everyone pulled up about 20 cases where people had died, and he still tried to argue that Spurs. Oh God, I haven't heard from him in a while.
I know we went through a little spate of dead bodies falling out of aircraft undercarriages on central London a few years ago.
Yeah, indeed.
It got a bit popular, especially on flights from South Africa.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they do survive. It does amaze me. Yes, that they can sort of 35,000 feet. That really is quite a tricky. That's not very much oxygen up there.
Well, it's actually
the thing is, they're probably lucky it's so cold.
Yeah, the hypothermia is what saves
down the metabolism.
Yeah, the hypothermia is what saves them.
Yeah, good point. Good point.
Yeah.
And the Falklands, in fact, when people having casualties in the Falklands, they were surprised at how few casualties and people dying on it. And they think it was down to the cold temperatures that down there. They were basically suffering from hypothermia when they were shot or whatever, and that helped to save them.
Yeah, keeps the blood more to the core.
It lowers the metabolism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Tibetan monks do
that. And if you got an external wound, the blood is less, it's flowing less to the extremities.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And as I said, the metabolism goes down, which means your brain. I mean, the thing that consumes most oxygen when you're sort of sitting there is your brain, and if you manage to cool that down, then it uses less energy, which means it loses less oxygen. And therefore, your oxygen requirements are less. Therefore, you don't need so much circulation. So yeah, being cold will save you a lot. Definitely help you.
Your brain uses about 1/3 of your oxygen.
That's right.
Remember that plane they were tracking, and the passenger that lost pressure and they were passed out. They weren't dead yet, but they were passed out in the plane. Remember around 2000? It was like a golfer.
Yeah.
Canada somewhere or something?
Payne Stewart.
Yeah, and it kept on flying, didn't it? And then eventually fell out of the sky.
Yeah, they couldn't do a thing about it.
Yeah, they just had to sit there looking at it. Yeah.
Ran out of fuel, finally.
I think they sent up
flat earthers they want to point out the exceptions and switch out the exceptions for the rule. Hence Black Swan.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
they always try to swap out the exceptions for the rule. That's one of their tricks.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah. But they keep the Black Swan. They keep saying, "Oh yeah, but look at it." Yeah, we are looking at it. Since when does a platform look like it's been put in an oven for an hour and a half at top degrees? Yeah. All bent, twisted, distorted. Oh yeah, but that's it. That's a good image. Yeah. What about the other 200 images of the same platform in normal condition?
You've got to be a little bit careful, because there is another image that that BLSM 69 took, where the spill off, whatever they're called, the burning thing, the gallery things, then they aren't bent. So you can get it, but it's then compressed. So you've got to be a little bit careful in saying you can only condemn it because it's got bent ones and therefore non-bent ones will be okay. They're not. You can have the compression without having the bent arms. The point is, it's refraction, and then you get this straw man. I mean, I named the Black Swan, and then bloody QE nicked it and then publicised it. And it's basically a straw man because we do not make the claim that the horizon is always that formula, because we know that refraction can cause it to be different. But no, QE took that and said, Globers believe that this is where the horizon should be, and if it's not, and we only need one example, then it's a Black Swan. But we don't make that claim. We make the claim that it's dependent on refraction. So the whole premise of that whole idiotic thing that he's done for a year now, and stole my Black Swan name for it, is completely idiotic, and apparently it's Nathan Oakley's best proof of a flat Earth, and it's completely fallacious.
But we've all seen Nathan Oakley admitting in chat that you can't put that on because that's the best proof of the globe.
Well, he was talking about a lighthouse.
Yeah, he's talking about a lighthouse. He was talking about a lighthouse.
To keep it hush hush.
Yeah, but I've seen that chat, and I don't think it's clear. I don't think it was clear from that chat that it's been cited often.
He did say perfect globe proof.
It's not 100%, but it's bloody close.
Yeah, it's as close as you're going to get.
I looked at it and I thought there was ways you could understand him not to mean that it was somehow giving the game away and he was a Poe. I mean, the point is, he's made such stupid... You see, these people, the claims that people like Nathan Oakley are a Poe, I just don't think work. Because if he was a Poe and clever and trying to just deceive everybody, then he wouldn't make some of the really, really stupid arguments that he does. Because if you're a clever, you would avoid making the stupid arguments.
Well,
you just stick to the ones that...
Oakley, yes. Riley, no. Riley's not smart enough, I don't think.
Indeed. But there's another counter-argument to the point that I've just made, which is, it doesn't matter what they say. The followers are too stupid to realise that he's making a stupid argument or an intelligent one. Right. And therefore, they're just going to... Yeah. So you could counter my point there.
Right.
But I think I think there are enough intelligent
followers. You get the proof
followers.
Of the 24-hour sun, and you show them everything. There's hundreds of videos of it. Oh no, that's fake. Just fake. Denied.
Well, of course, they go into hyper-skepticism mode. I mean, you can do this. You can say, prove this, prove that. And if you demand absolute proof, and have you been there? Have you done it? Have you touched it? I mean, there was that classic one about the sun being intangible I had with him argument about a month ago, where he said the sun is intangible because no one's touched it. No, that's not the definition of something's intangible. It's whether or not you can touch it or not. And I then cited there are no doubt some mountain tops in the world or other places that haven't been touched. Does that make them intangible? No, it just means they could still be touched, and the sun, in theory, can be touched if you can get sufficiently shielded and prod it with something, or we could send a probe into it. So I can't remember where I'm going with this, but that sort of argument is so stupid that an intelligent person wouldn't make that argument. So you're then left with, as I say, the other counter argument to me is that these people, I must admit, people defended his use of that argument, some of his followers, just because they're so desperate to follow him. So you can argue it doesn't matter what they say. They could be saying 1 + 1 = 3, and they were these followers who want to believe. If you want to believe something, if you want to believe the Earth is flat, it doesn't matter how stupid the arguments you hear that the Earth is flat. You're just going to say, yeah, great, well done. No matter how, if they bothered to apply some critical thinking, they'd realise it was bollocks. Perhaps that's the way it works. I'm not completely sure.
Yeah.
But my personal thing is that he genuinely does believe what he says. Invariably, you find these people who claim that the accusations that these people are terribly clever and playing a really clever game, it never turns out to be true. They're always stupid.
Somebody was making a good point in the chat a little while ago, and I hadn't even thought about it, but it's absolutely true. Riley claims my presence is affecting the experiment. What about my presence would be affecting the experiment, Riley, other than the gravity of my body?
Well, he's claiming obviously it's the heat thing.
Too many baked beans.
He's claiming it's the heat thing cited by Cavendish, of course. That's what he's claiming, I suspect. It's a way to get around that particular.
Far too many baked beans, Blue.
Oh, the Red Bull's back. Right. Come back to.
Oh, it's on its way back down now.
Yeah, it's just on its way off again, isn't it? So, what's your procedure then, Blue? To do it accurately, you do it one way, and then you do it the other way, and then you get a mean from both of them.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay.
Exactly. And then if you want to take drift out of it, then do it a third time. Move the balls again. Right. Reverse the balls again, and now, whatever drift may have added to the total deflection one way, it gets subtracted from it when you go the other way.
Right. So if you put them in the neutral position now, do you think it would drift back to where you had the position before? You still think it's relaxing?
I think it's relaxing still.
Right.
It would probably come back pretty close, but.
Yeah, real world is really tricky, isn't it? It's not really very cooperative. You have to do a lot of fiddling to get some result. No wonder science is so bloody difficult. He did really well, old Cavendish, to get this. Oh, admittedly, the instrument was made by... Who was the guy who did the instrument originally that he copied it from? Actually, it's the same instrument, wasn't it, in fact? He didn't...
Reverend John Michel.
He did... That was it. Yeah, and someone in chat is saying... Go ahead.
Because I believe he inherited it, didn't he? Essentially,
it came to him by way of Henry. Wollaston, a guy named Hyde Wollaston, John Hyde Wollaston. Francis John Hyde Wollaston. I'm looking it up in the paper now. Yeah. When Michel passed away, he left it to this guy Wollaston, who wasn't able to do anything with it, and he's the one that moved it along to Cavendish. But Cavendish basically changed everything. Michel originally was going to use, I think the balls he was going to use were like 110 pounds, and Cavendish just went overboard and made them 340 pounds. He made some significant modifications to it.
Sorry, Blue.
That's okay.
Well, I when you said you had to reduce the size of your balls because you couldn't handle them, I must have been looking at those balls, like in the big ones there. They seem a bit smaller than I imagined. I thought that if those seemed to be something you could handle, but I mean, because you made them half the size of the Cavendish ones, didn't you? The big ones.
Yeah, diameter-wise, yeah. These are 6 inches in diameter, and his were 12 inches. But these weigh about 50 pounds, which isn't a lot of weight, but it will be
enough for you.
It's surprising.
You didn't want any more.
Well, I couldn't buy any larger. Actually, I tried to get bigger ones. Right, I tried to find somebody that could make 75-pound or 100-pound ones, and I couldn't find it. This was the largest I could get.
Right. Right, I didn't realize that.
But actually, after I got them,
in Australia,
after you get one of those things, you take a 6-inch diameter ball. Just imagine. I mean, your fingers are almost touching each other when you form your two hands into a shape like that.
Right.
Your fingers are close to touching each other. Yet what's inside your hand weighs 50 pounds. It is surprising how difficult it is to pick that up, to try to get your fingers under it, to be able to lift it.
Right.
The last thing you want to do is drop that damn thing on your foot.
Yes, God, yeah.
I could make you some bigger ones, but because in Australia we use lead flashing on the tiled roofs, but I'd have to strip a lot of roofs, piss off a lot of people.
Yeah.
And then the shipping would be immense.
But don't you get an advantage in the fact that you can have the centre of gravity of the balls closer?
If you do the calculation, it's better to have bigger ones. Yeah, and you think so, but because the volume is a cube, the distance is only squared. So in fact, the bigger the balls, the better.
So it's diminishing returns though. The balls Cavendish used weighed 7 times as much as these do, and he got about 2.5 times as much force as a result of it.
Yeah.
So you start saying, I wonder if I really need to go that big.
Not from what we've seen, mate.
Oh, it's off again, that red one. Oh, is it coming back, the red thingy?
I think it's still disappearing.
It's running away.
Yeah, it's great to see the thing actually actually in action. Animated. You're going to do some sort of short summaries of these, Blue, to sort of, show the action happening with a little summary of what you're doing and everything. Nice, concise summary for people who are. I don't know how long this will be for. 2.5 hours.
Yeah, I'm going to say, I generally find that I'll quite happily sit and watch a 4 or 5 hour live stream while it's live, but you probably wouldn't catch me doing it.
Oh, it's coming back again.
Oh.
Yeah, I thought it was coming back. Yeah, I'd agree with you, Alan.
It's coming back now.
Yeah, so you need to do some nice punchy summary ones, Blue, to ram home. But God, it's quite quick, really, isn't it? Yes, it's quite moved. No, it's just in the last 30 seconds. It's moved quite a lot, isn't it?
Okay, I've got a really good idea, Blue. When you finish with the experiment, can we tie the balls to Anthony and test out his equilibrium thing underwater?
Yeah, I want to test
relative density.
Yeah.
Yeah, wrap one around each ankle and toss him in a river and see what happens.
That'd be a terrible waste of a couple of perfectly good lead balls.
Yeah.
Could you do a Coulomb experiment with this? But Blue, could you do a Coulomb experiment while you've got it there?
Oh God, I don't think so.
Because I mean, surely the only thing that's different is you actually need a more sensitive equipment to do the Cavendish rather than the Coulomb one, don't you?
Well,
so it's just about getting the charge on there.
Yeah, the Coulomb one is tiny compared to this thing.
Greater.
Very tiny.
Sorry, the forces are tiny, or the equipment that you need to
is tiny. The equipment is tiny.
Can't you do it on a bigger scale then?
Oh, I don't know.
Because I would have thought it'd be easier. I mean, the fact that the forces are much greater, I would have thought you'd be able to use this equipment. I mean, the Coulomb one is smaller because it doesn't need to be big, whereas this does need to be big, and because it's measuring a smaller force.
What experiment is?
The Coulomb. Well, just do Coulomb attraction. Positive, negative charges thing. Because this device, this Cavendish thing, came from trying to measure the force of attraction, the Coulomb attraction. Positive and negative charges attracting one another. They were using the inverse square law there. And then this was development of that. And this is another thing a flat Earth data gets confused about. He keeps on saying, Coulomb did this 10 years before Cavendish, therefore, I don't know what. Somehow that invalidates Cavendish. I've never understood this. Well, flat Earth data is an absolute moron on the first order, but he seems to have some idea that Coulomb did it beforehand, and therefore that invalidates Cavendish.
Rumpus, you'd kind of want to have the balls, both balls inside the container for the Coulomb. Because obviously you don't need to be introducing a big
but you don't need big balls. Correct. You don't need big balls.
No, I mean you don't want to have the case between the two balls.
Yeah.
Because that will change the
permittivity. Yeah.
Permittivity. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so I'm just saying you could.
Sorry, losing words tonight.
That's all right. That's okay, Alan. Yeah, I mean, obviously you'd remove the case, and you wouldn't need the big balls. You can have small balls with just big charges, but the rest of the equipment, I would have thought you could reuse for that, couldn't you? Yeah, so you remove the case, you would only need small balls, big charges, and then you could do a cooling experiment, it seems to me. But obviously, presumably you need quite, I don't know whether the cooling experiment required high voltages, and you don't want to deal with that. But
you'd also need to put the whole thing, the whole thing then inside a case to stop the...
What, Faraday cage?
Well, no, yeah, but I was thinking that would help. But I was also thinking, of course, you'd need to still be protecting it from air currents and stuff, which is, of course, why you are using the wooden case in the first place around the torsion.
Agreed.
I dropped out of Discord for a second there. I lost voice.
Yeah, you're right, Alan. Yes, I mean, it would be an idea, as you say, because there's a box around that to stop air currents getting involved. So you would probably, and given as you say, you don't want to have the permittivity issues of the case, because the wonderful thing about force of mass gravitational attraction, of course, is it doesn't mind. It can go through anything. No. Whereas obviously, as you say, the permittivity would change with the cooling thing. So yeah, you probably could have to move the case to around the whole thing. Yeah, I'd agree with you there. Okay, so you would have to make a bit of a change. Yeah.
Because I've been having this thing with a flatty who keeps saying it's not gravity, it's electrostatic.
Yeah.
And I then keep asking, well, why do we get the same results when we change the material of the box? And he doesn't understand why changing the material of the box is important.
Well, of course, Blue's grounded it, of course, hasn't he? He's put inside a copper layer to make sure there are no electrostatic issues. And he's grounded all the balls as well.
Yeah, so the whole thing's grounded, and the torsion balance is essentially inside a Faraday cage.
Yeah.
But it was so funny him sort of just saying, oh, it's electrostatic, it's electrostatic. Well, okay, so what happens if you change the material of the case and you get the same result, which has been done? And he doesn't understand that changing the case changes the permittivity and therefore changes the force if it's electrostatic.
Yeah. Silly people.
Did you?
Shout out to.
Before I dropped out, did you hear what I said about the if you hung one from a 30-story building?
I didn't hear that. Hang on 1 second. Shout out to Seek Truth, Speak Truth. 5 pounds. It's not the size of your balls that matter. It's the way you use them that counts. Absolutely.
Well, I'm not so sure. In this case, it is the size of the balls that matter, isn't it?
I think he's talking about some other balls.
Oh, I think he might have been,
Yeah, I was just saying, if you hung one of your big balls from, say, a 30-story building in a stairwell and let it settle, and then brought the other heavier ball close to it, would you see anything, do you think?
Nope. It would be too slight to measure.
Yeah.
But it would make a damn good full quartz pendulum, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. Yeah. You're making a pendulum there, mate. Yeah. Remember, we're trying to measure these nano forces, and unfortunately, to do what you're talking about, which is get an actual angle deflection of the ball as a pendulum, the forces to deflect a huge ball would be, many orders of magnitude more force required than the torsion balance. That's why the inventor used the torsion balance.
So regardless of how low your balls hang.
Yeah. This torsion balance thing is just incredible. I mean, have they come up? Well, I suppose there's new versions of the Cavendish experiment. I'm not quite sure how. I've forgotten how now they measure the force, but it's some equivalent of a torsion. I think I might be telling a fib there. I can't remember now how. Karen?
I saw something about them having multiple balls in this evacuated spindly thing, and they spin them really, really quickly for some. And that's about as far as I got with looking at it before I
I send multiple balls in a
I can
cylinder.
remember of it.
Yeah, I agree. I got that. I can't remember. I did know at one point, and I've even got the paper on it. But yes, but the torsion balance is just such a fantastically accurate instrument. It's just so much better than everything else, unless you than normal sort of ways of measuring these things, unless you're going into super technology. I wish I could remember whether they did that. I must mention that. Sorry, Le Quaslion, who mentioned earlier that Nathan, who says things, is actually basically using the counter argument to my argument that I made against myself, which is he's just talking to his audience, who basically he's just talking to his audience who will accept anything, and it doesn't really matter whether it makes no sense at all. He just has to say it emphatically and with emotion and conviction, and they'll just say, yeah, that's great. So, which I think, yes, I think that's possibly true. So anyway, that's something that the question said, and I think there is a case for that point of view.
Oh, sick truth, speak truth. Actually, for me, it's just as easy going uphill as downhill. But my electric wheelchair does go faster downhill than it goes uphill. And I've actually checked that. I've actually checked that using the velocity recordings on the GPS unit in my phone. Over the local bridge, it averages out 2.5 meters per second. Up the hill, 2 meters per second. Down the hill, 2.5 meters per second. On the flat, 2.25.
But Alan, what you've got to do is disconnect the drive motor. Then you go a lot faster downhill, mate.
Yeah, I probably would actually. Off the top of the bridge, I probably would get a bit more speed up.
Have you got something against that?
Especially with a 180 kilo wheel. Look, Rumpus, we have discussed me trying to make a manual wheelchair do 120 miles an hour.
A couple of people got it in for you, Alan.
I can do that for you. I can do that for you, Well.
Are trying to persuade you to do some things that possibly might not be advisable.
Hey, look.
Have you annoyed them or something?
No, Rumpus, I used to ride motorbike.
I play with model rocketry. I play with model rocketry.
Yeah. Shady, I don't mind rockets as long as they are throttleable.
Right. What sort of bike did you have, Alan?
Fun in that?
What sort of bike did you have, Alan?
Oh, I only had a couple. I had a Kawasaki Z750.
Bloody hell!
And a Honda NTV 650.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Right. You are a serious biker then. Yeah. Those Kawasaki Z750, they were the sort of very desirable bikes, weren't they?
Yeah. I mean, this was an old one, mid 80s.
Right. Yeah. But
you know, it'd still pull 130 mile an hour.
Yeah. Quite. Yes.
Plus,
there is a mobility scooter on YouTube where the guy's fitted a good motor to it, a 2-stroke bike motor, and I think he gets something like 120 mile an hour out of it.
Yeah. The problem is that's a bit of a cheat because it's actually not really a mobility scooter. It looks like a mobility scooter, but he actually used a go-kart chassis.
Yeah.
Did your bike ever fall over and you try and pick it up?
My bike did actually once fall over, and yeah, it was a bit of a pain in the ass picking it up.
Oh, you managed it though. Well done.
Yeah. Well, you have to remember it's technique.
Right.
And it's doing it without buggering your back up.
Yes.
Basically, you kind of squat and you get it up just enough to then get your knee under it.
Right, get your knees on it. Right, okay. Right.
And then once you've got a knee under it, then it's just leverage.
Right. Yeah, but I thought the tricky bit. Go ahead.
I used to have a motorbike cop came into my work all the time. We did work on his hot rod and his family cars and whatnot. And he ended up quitting the bike cop side of things because he come round a corner, hit a patch of diesel or something that had been on the road, and dropped the cop bike. And they're big and heavy.
Yeah.
And he dropped the cop bike, and he was pinned under it. He couldn't get it off him. His leg was stuck right under it, and he couldn't get it up. While he was under the bike, a lady in a car pulled up, and he thought, oh, here, at least someone's pulled up to help. And she wound down the window and leant out and said, excuse me, do you know where such and such street is? And I can't repeat what he told her to do, but it wasn't very pretty. And it took him about 2 or 3 minutes until someone actually pulled up. People kept driving past until a couple of tradies pulled up in their ute and got out and helped him. But he said, if I ever see this lady on the road, he's going to follow her around for the next 6 months and throw tickets at her every time he sees her.
What he should have perhaps considered asking her to ask someone else to help him, perhaps, if she wouldn't.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
But perhaps he was in too much pain or something at the time, or too annoyed.
I think he was in a bit more shock of she asked something that was a fairly quick question. And he just went, yes, down there, and she just wound the window up and drove off. And he gave up. He quit the motorbike cop force just after that. Went back to doing cars and desk work or whatever he was doing. I mean, how rude would you have to be?
I think the scary, I did one trip down to central London once that was probably the scariest drive I've ever done, because coming around the Thetford bypass, coming down this hill, and there's a roundabout in the bottom of the valley, and the valve in the front tyre let go as I'm braking hard from significantly more than 100 miles an hour.
Oh my God!
To go round the roundabout.
Oh Jesus Christ!
I kept it upright. I didn't die.
Well, because of what the lorry coming.
And I had it. Fortunately, there was nothing on the roundabout, and there was
I was
nothing.
about to say, yeah.
So I kind of just managed to sort of like point it diagonally across the thing and just get the thing to stop. But then, so I got that. Fortunately, I was able to get it into Thetford and get the front, get that fixed. I didn't think about the back tyre. About 10 miles later, the back tyre.
Oh my God!
So I got that fixed. Then, coming off the M11 onto the M25 on the big long curving slip road, hit the big patch of diesel.
Oh Jesus Christ! On the same day, bloody hell!
All on the same day. Fortunately, I kept the bike upright, but it was a bit unpleasant going sideways on a motorbike, sort of. And I wasn't going fast at this point because, let's just drift around here nicely at sort of 50. But still 50 miles an hour, suddenly having the bike slide about 6 feet sideways across the road.
Yeah, that
was
really
a bit of a surprise.
Indeed, I've done it. God, I've been scared about doing things like that on my bike. I only have got up to about 100 or 90 probably on my bikes. And Jesus, I mean, so you were doing? Did you say you were doing 130 when the tyre went?
I was somewhere between. I started off at 100. I was doing about 120 down the hill, and I started braking, and so I have no idea how fast I was.
Right. Okay,
I was on the brakes and not looking at the speedo because because that would be a stupid thing to do while you're braking heavily into a roundabout.
Yeah.
No,
I'll give you that one, Alan. I'll go with anything above 50 miles an hour. I'm not happening to. About 30 would be scaring the pants off me. So so anything like what you're talking about, I would have been having a few nightmares about that. I think.
I probably would have been aiming to go around the roundabout about 60 mile an hour. So that it would have been somewhere between 60 and 120 when the valve let go.
A friend of mine tried to show off in front of the local pub on his bike, and he was one of those people, just a nutter. He wasn't very with it and just a nutter. He went down the road, turned around, came back, someone pulled out of the pub and he T-boned them on the bike, and he was smart enough to actually sort of stand up, but it flipped him up over the car, and all the people in the pub, like there was 10 or 15 people there that knew him, all the people in the pub watched him as he flew, and they actually looked away because they thought he was going to hit the street light, the overhanging street light. He went that high, but he managed to land on his feet and shattered both ankles, broke both legs, did a few other bits of damage. But the story of all these people, they said they all cringed and looked away because they thought he was going to take out the overhead street light. He went that high.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
My dad had a Honda CB400 twin, and it had a leaking shock. So he was taking. He'd only just bought it like the week before, and one of the rear shocks had started leaking. So he's taking it back to the dealership he'd bought it from, and this bloke in a Jag decides that who is like less than 100 yards from a big roundabout, decides that because the road's quite wide, instead of driving down round the roundabout and back up, he'll just do a U-turn. And oh look, there's 3 cars coming past. That's the last one. Let's do the U-turn. Pulls the U-turn straight across. Yeah, gets the car sideways across the road for my dad to drive into the side. Yeah, and Dad hit this Jag between the front door pillar and the front, the back of the front wheel arch.
Right.
And he went over the bonnet, and the knees of his trousers had paint burned into it from where he went over the bonnet. But fortunately, as he went over it, he was like rolling, so he just rolled off the other side. And he rolled a couple of times and ended up sitting the other side of the road, on pretty much on the curb, just as a London double-decker bus come around the corner. So he just managed to avoid. He was so lucky that day.
How did he break anything?
No,
he was okay.
He literally got up and walked away from it.
Where the guy runs up. You see the one on YouTube where the guy runs up the back end of the car and ends up sitting on the boot, and he's pounding on the window to tell them to stop.
No, I haven't seen that. Yeah, being on a bike is no doubt it's a lot more dangerous than being in a car. There's no doubt about it. It might be a lot more fun, but you've only got 2 wheels. It only requires one to slip, and it's when you do fall off, you fall onto the ground, and then someone else comes and runs over you. It's a dangerous place to be on a bike, really. I've nearly met my end on a couple of occasions, and you think, yeah, all things considered, it's just not a sensible thing to be doing.
A mate of mine ended up, well, I got to know him after. He ended up being a junkie. Not through his own fault, really. He ended up in hospital for 18 months. He was driving through Brisbane, and a drunk driver hit him on his bike, and he and the bike got stuck under the front of the car, and the bike was so wedged it lifted the front wheels of the car off the ground. And the drunk driver came to the end of the street, and there's actually a gutter and then a bluestone wall. And he just drove up the gutter and into the bluestone wall with Mick on the bike still under the front of the car. So he ended up in hospital for a hell of a long time and was on so much morphine, and when he got out, he ended up becoming a junkie for a while.
Oh, jeez.
He got off it eventually, but that's one of the nastiest stories I've seen.
It's a hard time to get on that. So I had a question. Who was talking about the 24-hour sun? Was that the guy that left?
I can't remember who was talking about it.
So
I mentioned it earlier.
Because the reason why is, well, today.
Yes, speak truth. Speak truth. Yes, I am.
Because by coincidence, one of my clients today is Spanish military. He was in charge of vehicle maintenance for a few stints in Antarctica. And I said, oh, really? So I guess the Spanish have a base there as well. I know them. Anyway, I said, so you've seen the 24-hour sun? He's like, oh, yeah, that's a problem. from November to March. The sun doesn't go down. So I said, well, do you have video that have had some, it's like not very much video of like a whole, he's like, yeah, but it's really boring. It's okay, send it to me.
All right.
So I'll keep you posted on that.
Yeah, that'll be you. Is it and does it do a I don't suppose it does a rotation though, so following where the sun is.
I don't know, but in other words, now I've got a contact in the military operating there, so I'm sure somebody has.
And you suspect they've got a lot of time on their hands as well to do this sort of thing.
A lot of
time.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Because they presume they're not working all the time. Therefore, they must have some time to do their own thing, and so therefore they'd have time to do some bit of photography for you.
Absolutely.
So that'd be great.
On Modern Day Debate, a day or so ago, they had a flat Earth debate. One of them was an utter moron, but they were saying about, well, aren't they all? Yeah, they were saying about the 24-hour sun in Antarctica, and the guy just said, the Glober said, let's just negate Antarctica because Earths have a problem with it, so we'll go to southeast Chile, south of Chile. And he said they have a 17-hour sun. That's close enough because you're right down the bottom, you know what I mean? And they have a 17-hour sun, so explain how that happened.
South Island, New Zealand as well?
Deny. Yeah, New Zealand. They mentioned New Zealand as well. But Chile, southern Chile is the lowest part of any continent other than Antarctica.
Tierra del Fuego.
Yeah. So explain that. Oh, I don't know. Have you ever been there? Have you seen it? Oh, yeah, thank you very much. Just stupid. But they can't do anything. If you even give them Antarctica and take it away and say, well, this happens in Chile. And then the same old question comes back up. Have you actually been there? Have you seen it for yourself? Blah, blah. Pathetic.
Right. It's actually
proves the 24-hour sun one way or the other, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's close enough. Otherwise, it can't happen on a flat plane. Just wouldn't.
Impossible.
So I was talking last night. I think it was on Penn's. So as a matter of fact, people from Auckland, we're going to set it up where the sun is setting here in Seville, and it's the exact, Seville, Spain is the exact antipode of Auckland, very conveniently. So the sun is setting here, so I'm going to call them up right at sunset, and it should be rising for them. In the east, so it'll be setting in the west for me, right as it's setting in the east for them.
Coming up in the east.
Coming around. That's absolutely impossible on any flat model.
Yeah.
You don't have antipodes on a flat model.
Hey, what do they call it? The sandwich Earth, something like that.
Right.
One, you're on the flip side.
Yeah, there's a website. It's like Sandwich Earth, or My Antipode, something like that, right? You can just look it up. What's opposite to you? Unfortunately, for a lot of people, it's water on the other side.
I was going to say, from where I am, I'm about 1,000 kilometres south east of the bottom of the South Island of New Zealand, and 300 kilometres from the nearest speck of land. If I were to suddenly come out the other side.
But if you put a slice of bread there, and at the other side another slice of bread, you just made an Earth sandwich. You know what?
Yeah, that's the way they put it, yeah. Yes, they can't explain anything. And I love the space deniers. I think that's the best one. So many, probably by now, trillions and trillions of dollars have been spent just to recreate the lie. Of course, why not?
Who was it? A couple guys were saying last night that observable science is not real science. They're parroting the QE cult chants. Chanting the QE chants. So epidemiology, economics. In fact, it was you, Rumpus, that said, wasn't it, the Francis Crick's DNA model predicting that? And then I mentioned Uranus being measured, and they just predicted that planet would be there, and they did find it, Neptune. And so, that's not real science. That's science. That's using observation. They didn't manipulate anything. But these guys will insist that you have to manipulate Uranus. Pachoompa. Sorry about that.
Meanwhile,
they've been doing for years.
Well,
I know it wasn't that funny, but
that's a field of science called proctology, not astronomy.
Don't quit your day job, fellas. What I wanted to tell them.
Does anybody know the difference between a proctologist and a
And
bartender?
they also screwed up the definition of natural science. Yeah, that's just not. They also screwed up the definition of natural science. Well, I think that was on Jose's last night.
Is my mic working?
No, I can't hear you.
no, we can't hear you, Blue. Definitely can't hear you.
So I brought the big balls back to neutral. At the top end, it went up to about 220. Here at the bottom, it's still going down. It's around 140 now. But it should be just about bottomed out at that point. And it looks like it's going to come back very close to the 179 number that we were using for the center to begin with. So the problem is to figure out what to let this oscillation die down now is going to take hours and hours. So there won't be much else we can show.
No effect.
Yeah, when it swings that much, it just takes it a long time for the vibration to settle out. So
No gravitational damping, or whatever you want to call it.
huh?
I just don't get how they can argue with this, and I've got to go. I've got to get to bed soon, but I want to go and check out Flappy's video, even though no matter what of my 13 accounts I'm on, I can't comment on there. I might have to create a new one. Again.
Well, we've been going for about 3 hours on the live stream now. We started out with the balls in the neutral position. We saw just the regular periodic 949 second oscillation and watched that for a while. Then we moved the balls into one of the positions. I don't remember which one we started with. Got some measurements there. Switched it to the full deflection to the opposite direction. And when I crank the numbers, just roughly, I have to go back and do some analysis to actually pick off the points a little closer. Just based on the rough numbers that I wrote down, though, that would give us a value of big G. That would give us, if I could finish, that would give us a value of big G of 6.47 times e to the minus 11th, and that's about 3% lower than the accepted value. So, not the best test I've run, but it's, it's right there. So, you guys say what you, I'm not talking to you guys here with me right now. You guys on the flat earth side can say what you want. You just saw it happen. Deny it all you want to. It's not going to make it go away.
Nope.
Not at all.
They'll come up with some word salad crap.
Oh, yeah.
With dressing.
Without a doubt.
50 pounds, right?
Yeah.
Can't ignore the 50-pound balls in the room.
Anthony Riley's just going to continue lying about this because that's who he is and that's what he does.
Nope, they refuse to admit defeat or anything wrong. There's only a couple of times I've ever heard them. I can count on both my thumbs the amount of times I've heard them actually admit anything.
Oh, they don't like admitting anything.
They have to double down.
Yeah, but this thing has got them in full-blown panic mode. I'm doing a video. I'm going to do a rather lengthy video on all of this. A one-time response to all of the shit that Anthony Riley has gotten wrong. And that may be a week or two coming because he got a lot of stuff wrong.
So much wrong to cover, so little time.
Yeah.
You don't, because he's worth it.
39 people watching, man. Thanks for everybody for coming. Barry on, Hads, Judy Bassett out there, Dora. Who else do I see? Rob Barton, hello. Dart, Seek Truth, Speak Truth. I think I mentioned you, maybe not. Dorian B, Gaming and Media. Hey, welcome. Of course, Alan. Everybody that's in here with me.
Hi.
Stevie B.
Tiger's there.
Yeah, Tiger. I don't know. I see. If I've left anybody out, it's not intentional. I've been busy writing down numbers and keeping an eye on this thing.
Oh, Duranku's out there as well because. Please finish the joke. YouTubers are waiting for the punchline.
Oh, yeah. Finish the joke. Yeah, I can finish the joke. What's the difference between a bartender and a proctologist? Simple. A proctologist only has to look at one asshole at a time. Broom Fondle, hello. Thanks, man. But Had's already had the answer, so.
Oh, I was going to say to add to a question that was asked a minute ago. The biggest problem with dealing with the TWERFs is everything they say is basically lies and made up, and it's a hell of a lot easier to do that than it is to try and actually explain the truth. So they can bombard us with so much rubbish that it becomes very difficult to actually respond to it. And of course, some of the stuff you hear, like good old Lindsay Harris, is just so out there and ridiculous that it's almost impossible counter it, because they make so well. You know, they're fractally not even wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
They're so far off the planet that there's no way of addressing their issues. Lindsay Harris needs mental help. He is.
Who?
But there's so many. Lindsay Harris.
Oh, Lindsay. Yeah.
Why You Are an Idiot.
Oh.
Donnie Lee. The funniest thing I've seen in a long time, he was on with FTFE in a debate, and FTFE was telling him that the super chats were worth thousands of dollars. Yes. And at one point he believed that FTFE was making like $300,000 off the stream, because instead of saying Generally Shady has just super chatted for $2, it was $2,000, and so-and-so's, and he made, I forget what the number came out, it was like $400,000 or something, and Donnie actually believed him.
Yeah, he did.
And he's going, oh really? And then he told him that it wasn't just a live stream on YouTube, that it was going out on like the BBC in the UK, live TV. And Donnie believed him.
Craig got a bit ashamed of himself.
It took 10 or 15 minutes for him to actually start doubting it. And this guy's running for a councillor in his town. And then we got him onto dihydrogen monoxide.
Horrible.
And he believed that. He didn't know what that was.
Nice. That's fantastic.
That's the funniest stream I've seen in a long time.
Yeah. But come on. Lindsay Harris is great because he spends all that time drawing those boobs and bums on the whiteboard.
And circulating donuts and things.
Yeah. And although I did like the one we saw the other week where he actually had 3D boobs, because he put two like dessert bowls against the whiteboard and was rotating them around each other. And of course, the fact that he can't edit video and his camera cuts off after 27 minutes and 13 seconds. I guess it must fill the memory card up.
The funniest thing is when he gets lost in his own crap.
Yeah.
He loses track of his own bullshit.
If you look at his early stuff, his current stuff is in part contradicting what he said back then.
Yeah. Oh, I've given up on him because I do think he's in serious need of mental help. Like I said, there's Why You Are an Idiot, and like who says a bloody giant wolf jumped up and chewed the moon, and that's what the craters are. Like,
well, you know, you could also scoop out the Grand Canyon and throw it into space.
I talked to Ross about an hour on the phone the other day, Flat Earth Aussie Jesus, and I rang him back the other day because they've just had major floods here, so I rang him back to make sure he's okay. And to actually sit and talk to Ross normally is really pleasant. He's a good guy. But I had a laugh at him about one of his comments he made on a video. I saw him respond, so I knew he was awake, so I rang him and said, you know, how's it going in the floods and whatnot. And when he's not talking about Flat Earth, he's a really cool dude.
That's what it seems like. Yeah, he seems like it, doesn't he? That's interesting because people have told me, oh yeah, Australians have told me, yeah, he's just having a laugh, you know. It's like he's like the typical guy down at the pub, but he's just doing it online.
He's fully serious about the flat Earth. He's fully serious. But
yeah, he is.
As someone to go down and sit at the pub with, have a beer, have a game of pool, or whatever you can do, he'd be awesome.
I think the flat earther I think the flat earther you might be confusing him with is Bansal Bandit, who's not around very much anymore, but yeah, he's cool, so to speak.
Oh, Ross is lovely guy. I'm going down to see him. I said, well, I'm going to go down, and once the weather cools down and whatnot, it's not so wet, I'm going to go down and have a camp down there, and sit around and have a chat to him. He also said if I could bring a time-lapse camera and show him the South Celestial Pole rotation, he'd think hard about it.
Oh, I remember he said it varies. It goes back and forth at several degrees. I remember him saying that just recently.
Yeah. But he said, I can't do it, my phone doesn't do it, I don't have that either, but I can borrow a camera that will do a time-lapse for it. And I said to him, if I can show you the South Celestial Pole rotation, would that make you think a bit? And he said, yes, definitely, if you can do that. He's quite cool. So that'll be interesting. Yeah, I'm actually quite looking forward to going down and having a couple of drinks and whatnot with him. He is quite a nice guy, genuinely a nice guy. Just a bit weird. So, and I've got some body cams from my security work, so little discreet ones. So there'll be some things I'll do on camera and record, and I'll leave my little discreet one running the rest of the time. See what he says. But he's a pretty cool dude.
Spoiler.
Just stuck it in the side chat. I'll also pop it in the chat in here. A link to the north-south celestial rotation videos that I did with Peter Harrington, Aussie baller.
Yeah.
Showing both the north and the south celestial.
Yeah, and I mean there are ones out rotations there from near the equator where you can see the straight line over the equator and the arcs either side.
Yeah,
so
I mean this one. Well, no, this one is this one is Polaris and the North Celestial Pole from 52 degrees north, and the Southern Celestial Pole from Melbourne, whatever Melbourne is, 36, something like that, 37 south.
Yeah. So where we are, we should be able to see. If we look north, we should be able to see just the start of the north rotation. We can see the straight line over the equator, but we should be able to see the South Pole. So we'll give it a go and see what he says. I better head off to bed. I'm going to go and have a look at Slappy's video and have a laugh.
Good talking with you. Take care.
You too, man.
Yeah, be careful. Yeah, be careful.
Good night, Shady.
Take care, Blue. Awesome work, brother.
Yeah, see you, Shady. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. We're going to keep hammering these idiots until they don't have any place left to go.
Yeah, I'd like to take that literally, but unfortunately.
Yeah,
Like I
good
said,
job,
if you
Blue.
ever,
I'm out for now.
if you ever want to go to England, mate, go to the boxing ring. I'm in.
Yeah.
As long as I get Oakley, I'll be happy.
It's funny that Anthony's so damned paranoid. He actually thought I was being serious about that. Jesus Christ! Like I said, I'm 71 years old. I'm not climbing in a boxing ring with anybody.
I'm not that much younger, but I do all right. Still doing. I was doing the toughest clubs and pubs in Brisbane up until last year. Hardcore shit, but I would. I'd like someone to video me teabagging. Oakley. I'll do it for real. All right, guys. You have a good one.
All right, take care, Shade.
See you guys.
Well, I think I'm about to end the stream here. I think we've seen just about everything we can see in one 3-hour period. We saw it sitting pretty still. We saw it move one direction, and then we made it move the other direction. And it wasn't me in the room making it move. It was me moving those big lead balls that made it move. So, hope everybody enjoyed it. We'll be doing a few more of these. Who's left on Discord? Anybody? Yeah, Alan's still sitting in there.
Just me.
Yeah, okay. Well, all right. Thanks for coming, folks. And we'll catch you on the next one.